was right. Yeah. Hey everybody, tonight we're debating Flat Earth versus Globe Earth, and we are starting right now with the Flat Earth team's opening statement. Thanks so much for being with us. Karen B., the floor is all yours.
Hi, my name's Karen B., and I'm here to say that the Earth is flat. Why do I think the Earth is flat? Well, because I participated in two independent measurements, direct measurements of the Earth for curvature, and both times curvature was not measured. Once over the Lake Balaton in Hungary, which is the largest landlocked lake over there in Europe. And also we did a measurement of Earth's curvature in Denver, Colorado, using survey equipment over land. And that also showed no trend for Earth curvature in either direction. Also, I remember visibly seeing the Farallon Islands from San Francisco, the coast of San Francisco, and they're about 30 miles away from the coast of San Francisco, and they're not even more than 110 feet tall, so you shouldn't be able to see them all. They should be behind the curvature, yet you can see them on a clear day. And so that is why I think the Earth is flat. What's it?
Okay, yeah. So I always point out that really the main critique is everyone says, you guys think the Earth's flat, where's your model? Answer all these questions. What exactly is going on? Blah, blah, blah. And I consider it to be a very dishonest way to go about this, because there's a positive claim on the table that we were all taught, and that it's that the Earth's a ball with a certain size and very specific claims. So if you want to be honest and look into it, you need to just see if that claim is true before you get ahead of yourself and you're like, well, how would all this other stuff work? We need to figure out if that's true. And like Karen B said, I have similar experiences. I went around the whole US doing the same thing. So we've done laser tests, we've done mirror flashes, we've done long distance observations. We have some observations where you see mountains from hundreds of miles away. The globe position is that it's just an illusion. It's not really there, but it clearly is. We're sitting there seeing what it is, where it is. So anyway, there's just no actual evidence when you look into it that the Earth is a spinning ball. And so an honest position, now what the critique will be is, they're just detaching themselves from the burden of proof, or they don't want to answer the questions or whatever. But again, an intellectually honest position is, well, if we're claiming this is exactly what the Earth is, a spinning ball with a certain size, we need to figure out if that's true. That's the first step. Then we can go trying to figure it out, right? Flat's not a shape, it's a description of a surface. So long story short, there's tons of evidence that debunks what they claim. And we can see that the Earth is provably and measurably a topographical plane. We're not allowed to freely explore the whole Earth, so we don't have to know exactly what the Earth is. We don't have to know what all is on the Earth. That's kind of ridiculous, So in summary, we just need actual empirical verifiable evidence of this alleged curvature, this alleged spin and revolution, and this alleged vacuum. None of that exists. And all evidence shows us that the Earth's a stationary topographical plane, which means it's geocentric in the center of all things. And we're still waiting for this proof of this alleged curvature and spin. So that's kind of the problem. We falsify what they told us. It isn't true. And we're waiting for empirical evidence void of begging the question fallacies. So there you go.
You got it. Thank you very much for that opening from the Flat Earth team. And want to say, folks, if it's your first time here at Modern Day Debate, we are a neutral channel hosting debates on science, religion, and politics. We hope you feel welcome no matter what walk of life you are from, whether you be Flat Earth, Globe Earth, Christian, atheist, politically left, politically right, you name it. We're glad you're here. We hope you feel welcome. And hey, if you haven't seen it, at the bottom right of your screen, King Crocoduck returns for an epic debate against David McQueen. Creationism on trial. You don't want to miss it. Hit that subscribe button, as that debate is coming up this month, and you don't want to miss it, so hit subscribe. And with that, we're going to jump over to our Globe Earth team. Thanks for being with us as well. Amy and Taylor, the floor is all yours. Oh, you're on mute, Taylor.
Should I go first, Amy?
Sure. I'm good with either way, but if you're ready.
Well, yeah. All right. I've got a little bit of a janky setup right now because my computer is not cooperating. But let me know if I need to adjust anything, and I'll jump right in. So the main things that I see from Flat Earth is a basic misunderstanding of simple physics, geometry, and optics, to name the most important things, and which understood properly can explain and demonstrate the Earth's round shape, So there's a couple ways beyond that that we can use. There is actually a live feed of the Earth from space. It's called the one I like. I'm sure there's others, but it's called the Himawari 8 weather satellite. It's a live feed. You can see the entire globe. It's not a compilation of pictures, and it can't be faked because you can check the live weather patterns. Flat Earther Jeranism proved that the Earth is curved when he did his famous experiment where his friend went out on the lake and he had to lift the light to get over the curve. And speaking of seeing stuff behind curves, refraction can actually account for seeing further than the actual physical curve is, but refraction cannot account for that if the Earth is in fact flat. It can only refract on a circular planet or surface. And thankfully, I've got a whiteboard behind me so I can explain that in later if we get into that. But basically, since the atmosphere is curved, the light's going to hit the curved atmosphere. It's different densities, and it will refract around. On a flat Earth, it's all the same density in a straight line. So it's not hitting different densities and bouncing like refraction would require. So refraction only happens on a globe. You do actually need a model because this is a flat Earth debate. This is not globe on trial debate. And it's really funny that all attempts to put even globe people try to put the Earth on a flat surface and it doesn't work. Flat maps don't work accurately. So that's a problem. Let's see. So basically how perspective works is we're taught on a flat surface like in art class that we can draw those straight lines and the horizon converges with that. When you draw on a flat Earth, it should work like that. On the real Earth, it falls below that line. So that's one thing with the curvature. We can observe that over lakes like Lake Pontchartrain. We can observe both the water and the causeway curving over the horizon and dropping lower than a linear perspective would. Again, refraction cannot cause this effect if the Earth is flat. Geometry, I wish I had my slideshow, but the fact that the stars spin in opposite directions on opposite sides of the globe is impossible on a flat Earth. In fact, flat is the only shape of the Earth that does not work with that, because if we were on a flat Earth and the stars are spinning in opposite directions, then that means that the stars are getting farther and closer to each other, and that's never been observed. In fact, we observed that they're all the same relative distance from each other. Basically, gravity, if you understand gravity, you understand why air and water hold to the surface to a curved surface, and why the surface is in fact curved, because everything falls in the same direction. Those are my main points, other than and I'll help out Witless, because last time we moved on before I could answer his question about the Cavendish experiment, which demonstrates gravity. So the independent variable is the mass of the torsion bar, and the dependent variable is the direction of movement. So mass accelerates towards mass. It's gravity is a proven phenomenon, and those are my basic points. I'd really like to stick to the gravity thing, and go ahead, Amy.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so very much. Hello, everyone. My name is Amy Newman. I create skeptic content along with my co-host, James W., at youtube.com/Amy Newman. as I am a comedian, counter-apologist, and multimedia enthusiast with degrees in graphic design, game development, film and motion graphics with a specialization in visual effects, education, and information technology, which is what makes topics like the flat verse globe so much fun, because there are videos, hell, live feeds from the International Space Station 24/7, 365 of the Earth being round from space. But when it comes to a flat Earth, all we get are cartoon representations of something like a dome, or as they sometimes call it, a firmament from biblical cosmology. But more on that later. Let's first talk about why the world is round, because we've known this for thousands of years. Ancient Greeks like Eratosthenes, along with his counterparts, would record shadows from cities hundreds of miles apart. He began to notice that directly overhead at noon, there was no shadow in Cyan, but a very long shadow at Alexandria, something only possible on a round Earth, though would become useful thousands of years later as time zones allow us to figure out what part of our day-night cycle we're on. Pilots take advantage of the round Earth by bypassing the side instead of going over the top. They could just save some money. Look at that. Wow, right over the top. Another touchy subject for conspiracy theorists. I know, but again, more on that later. In fact, circumnavigating the Earth by heading in the same direction is another way that we know the Earth is round. Because on a flat plane of any finite length, you will eventually find an edge. All of the water would end up falling off of said edge, like you would expect trying to drink from a dinner plate or a disc. Yet this seems to never happen. In fact, it appears we live on a giant, massive ball, like the vast majority of giant celestial objects. Sun, round. Moon, round. Literally every other planet, round, round, and around we go. Yet a flat earther will try to sell you that the Earth is flat, while none of these physical laws of nature matter. And why? Well, because we're God's special creation. Oh, which is the seedling or possibly the root of the problem here tonight. Though, don't take my word for it. Ask your local flurf. Quote, you can't really be a flat earther and an atheist. End quote. Witsit gets it. Though if religion is the seed and the flat earth is the fruit of this rotten tree, then conspiracy theory would be the stem. You see, this kind of mindset that we're dealing with is conspiracy theories. The types that have not met a conspiracy that they don't love. But I wish I was being hyperbolic. Flat Earth, sure, but anti-vax 7-Eleven was a part-time job. The ether is real. Gravity isn't real. Space isn't real. The atomic theory isn't real. Whoa, 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 whoa. What these people are trying to sell you is science isn't real, because the entire process of science is removing human bias from the question. If someone asks, well, did you take that test for yourself? You might be talking with someone who rejects science, though it will be something we asked of flat earthers, since they are not in the scientific consensus. Thus, the burden of proof will be on them to come up with their own model instead of acting within mainstream science and saying, "Oh,
Minute and
mainstream
a minute and a
triggers
half
me."
left.
Are you going to accept what the media has told you? Don't you know they're only trying to make money? Well, sure, 24/7 cable news is horrible. The peer review system by which people formulate a hypothesis, go out into the field for research, collect data, then submit their results. Yeah, that's still fantastic. In fact, it's the only way we can separate fact from fiction. So all we have left to really deal with is the root of the problem. While I could say religion, what I mean is superstition. You see, liberal, conservative, atheist, theist, we can all be prone to believing bullshit. Sometimes that comes from a fundamentalist view of a holy text. Other times it's crystals, vibrations, and magnets. The key here, it's not a science debate because science is about testable working theories. This is about theories versus conspiracy theories, or rather what tools we use in our epistemological toolkit. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that opening from Snake and Amy, aka Snake/Taylor Synonymous. But want to say, folks, thanks for being with us. If you happen to have a question, you can @ me in the live chat, as well as if you do a super chat, we put those questions at the top of the list. We'll have Q&A after the open discussion. Thanks very much for being with us. Wits It Gets It, Karen B, Amy, and Taylor, the floor is all yours for open dialogue.
So, guys, since my understanding of gravity proves that the Earth is round, how about you educate me on what I'm getting wrong about gravity and why do things fall towards the ground and not sideways?
Okay, right after we address your guys' monologue, though. So,
why do you dodge the question?
Wait, dude, I want to address the intro. Okay, so you claimed Himawari proves that the Earth's a ball, and that it shows us live time footage of live time weather patterns. And so therefore it couldn't be faked. That's patently false though, my man. It takes a minimum of 10 minutes delay, admittedly, before they even give you any type of image. And secondly, you claim that star trails in the south debunk it. And then you said that's impossible. It's only possible. It's possible in every shape except for flat, which in my intro of the 3 things I said, I helped you out and said, flat's not a shape, bro. So when you guys say flat's a shape, it sounds really ridiculous. It's a description of a surface. You can have a flat, square, circle, triangle, you name it. Okay. Then you brought up Cavendish. We'll talk about that since that's what you want to talk about. And then Amy said you'd fall off the edge. You can't go past 60 south latitude. So there's actual no proof of any of the stuff that you guys are saying. It was a bunch of sophistry. So I just wanted to address your intro. All right, go ahead. What's your question? You're asking me to explain gravity?
Yeah, and then after you ask that question, I want to know why you wouldn't fall off an edge, because that's not right. So I want to know why you think otherwise.
Yeah. So you
Amy,
can't go past the 60th south latitude. It's illegal to go past there. Can you fall off the edge of a lake? No.
Ladies and gentlemen,
cannot.
it's the law that's keeping him from finding out the truth. They can't send drones up past a certain feet because that would really hurt their feelings. They can't figure out how to do a drone themselves. They can't figure out how to get through Antarctica themselves, even though people go to Antarctica and have won world records.
Okay, so you can't freely and privately explore past the 60th south latitude. You can only go where you're on an approved guided tour. You asked if we could fall off the edge. You can't fall off the edge of a lake. So that's a ridiculous question. There's something. Get
approval.
Well, yeah, but what if they don't?
Why haven't you gotten approval?
Because I
you
know
can travel there. You can buy a ticket.
Only where they let you go.
Yeah, you can explore.
Comprehending words?
You could do the same thing. How about you go get approval and go do that transpolar trip and prove that the Earth is a globe? I mean, you guys could do the same thing. So that is like a really ridiculous argument there, because it's easy to prove the Earth is not a globe without going anywhere from the first place, without risking your life. But if you think if you guys claim the Earth is a globe, that's a positive claim. Go prove it. Go from one pole to the other.
So first of all, it sounds like Austin said Wooder's not falling off the edge because I didn't go there. So him not going there is physically keeping Wooder falling off.
No, you guys interrupted me.
Oh, okay. Well, let me finish the point.
Finish your straw man fallacy. Okay,
go ahead.
Moving
over to Karen. Is that the reason why we don't have to do the test is because we're defending the scientific consensus. You're going against the scientific consensus. You're trying to present your own model. And if you're just saying, I'm asking questions, scientists don't care. Your views aren't going to be taught in science textbooks.
Okay, so for one, science is antithetical to consensus. You seem to not comprehend that it has nothing to do with what other people think. Secondly, I was explaining that you, for one, can't go past the 60th south latitude privately and freely, and then people have actually been intercepted trying to do so. Thirdly, you actually don't fall off the edge of a lake, so there's something containing it. Antarctica is known to have the highest elevation in the world. Fourthly, the necessary antecedent to gas pressure is a physical container. Therefore, there could be something literally coming down and keeping that gas pressure here. Therefore, you wouldn't be able to go past it or through it, much less fall off of it. It's a baseless assertion where in which you want to skate past the fact that you have no idea what's past there either.
How interesting. Contain it. What is containing it?
We don't have to make a claim as to what it is. It's a necessary antecedent.
Water
I
is
just told you
currently
you can't.
falling off the edge. You haven't been to that. There's. I shouldn't say the D word.
Nobody said there was an edge.
No
Why do you
one
keep
said
saying
it's a
that?
flat. So it's an infinite plane, right? It doesn't have an edge. It's an infinite.
I
just
don't
goes
know.
on forever.
We're claiming that if there's a container, it would touch down on the earth. Can you fall off of it?
Say that again.
If there was a container containing the gas pressure and it touched down on the earth, could you fall off the earth?
Can you prove there's a container?
I just now explained to you, my man, it's illegal to privately traverse past the 60th south latitude. You must not be listening.
Yeah, you can explore anywhere on Earth.
You cannot privately and freely explore
Yes.
past the 60th south latitude.
Who's going to stop you?
Different military
Military?
organizations. Dude, are you literally
No,
denying
military is
Soros?
not allowed there.
This is why you are the best
What?
recruiters for Flat Earth ever, just in case you were wondering, because you guys have
No.
to lie. This is why you're trying
And
to
you
find
have to
mutiny.
interrupt me.
No,
So,
you just lied.
Gotta earn those checks
So
somehow.
yeah,
there's
you
no.
All right, there's three people
Oh
speaking
my
at once,
gosh.
so quiet, just so we can hear. It doesn't make sense. It cancels out the purpose of having the panel if there are people speaking over each other, because then they can't hear anybody. So just want to be sure. Let's see. Karen, we haven't heard a lot from you, so if you have something to say, we'll kick it over to Karen. Otherwise, we'll kick it over to Taylor. Karen, any
Okay,
thoughts?
well, first of all, I've talked to a man firsthand that I know personally who worked for NASA. And when he worked for NASA, he actually spent time working at both poles. He worked at the North Pole and at the South Pole, the quote unquote South Pole. And he also believes that the Earth is flat, knows that the Earth is flat, because he didn't see the sun's disk the whole time he was there. I mean, and the whole time he was there was on a military base. Of course, you have to be military to go to Antarctica. There is no roaming around down there, and not to mention the fact that it is an extremely more harsh environment than the North Pole. It's not equal. Like in the North, when it's summertime in the North, you can go to the North and you can watch the sun go around, and it's actually kind of pleasant there. But it's not the same in Antarctica. It's much more colder. And there's no flora and fauna there. All there's like penguins on the shore, and that's it. It's different. It's completely different. So why isn't it the same if the Earth is a globe, like the way it's described? It doesn't even make sense.
What have you got, Taylor?
You could go around the military bases in a very short circle instead of around it, the entire globe in a big circle. So you can actually figure out the direction. You could just go around the military bases and it will be an enclosed circle, not the outside of a flat disk or whatever.
Have you done that?
Any flat object.
Have you done that?
Have you? You can do this privately. They won't stop you.
No, you can't.
You can't go past
Yes,
the
No,
you
you
60th.
cannot.
Can you listen to what I just said? Go around that latitude and look at the military bases.
You wouldn't
the whole
get anywhere
time.
near the military bases
It will
because
be-
at 60 degrees, you can't even see the shoreline of Antarctica, dude.
And
Dun, dun,
also
dun.
notice what they're saying. It's a conspiracy.
You can go around
You
it.
could go, but they're stopping you. It's the
It's-
government. What do you watch the
They
news?
literally do
Amy,
stop
it's not
you.
a conspiracy. It's called the Antarctic Treaty, which has tons of subsequent legislation that is easily accessible. You can go read it. It's illegal
about
to
it?
privately and freely explore past the 60th south latitude. That's objective. You guys are saying nuh-uh.
Because you can
Yeah,
go
because
there.
how come? Mhm. And how come the Antarctic Treaty bans military activity on Antarctica?
How is that relevant?
Silence. Okay.
How is
How is that
actually
relevant
answered
to
your-
military
What
What
existence?
type, what
existence?
type of
Aggressive
military
dude.
activity? What type of military activity? I mean, they still have bases down there. They are military run.
Name one.
So McMurdo.
What's up now?
What's up
Silence.
now? Is that what you
Well,
said?
ironically, you're the one that just got silenced. I answered your question. So it's a non sequitur. Do people have tried to go and been intercepted?
There are
Okay.
scientists on Antarctica now. People have run for Guinness World Records in Antarctica have been recorded, have been filmed. Somehow that's sometimes a not good enough for flat earthers.
Non sequitur.
Film non sequitur, as in you can't go there.
I know a
except
guy
for all
who
the
filmed
people
Loch Ness
that went
Monster
there,
too.
that they filmed it. Oh, really?
We
They
said
did?
you can't privately.
You should get
and
that guy to
freely-
publish a paper so other people believe it, and he's not a conspiracy theorist.
You said you can't privately and freely go there. So that's called a straw man fallacy. If you can just name someone that went on an approved guided tour, that's a non sequitur straw man fallacy.
So it's not
You'll
a
get
straw
there
man.
though.
You can go there. What you're trying to say is, I don't want to go there because then that would disprove the thing that really gets me in my feelings.
No, if you attempt to get approved for circumnavigation across the center of the Antarctic continent on the bottom of a ball, it will not be approved. They say it's too dangerous of a journey to even attempt, and they will not approve it because they think they can't rescue you. So you're just making stuff up.
So they'll arrest you if you do it?
Yes, people have been intercepted trying to go past the 60th south latitude multiple times.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. You can't go to Antarctica. You can't go there for any reason at all, whether you're a scientist or trying to transverse it. Doesn't matter that scientists are there right now, that we have Guinness World Records transversing it. Remember, you can't go there except for
straw man fallacy again.
It's a straw man, except for it's your exact position, which makes it a steel man.
It's not in my exact position. We don't claim no one can go there. We claim that you have to be approved and you can only go where they let you go.
Yeah, you have to go under their conditions.
It's
Can
insane.
I ask, have private citizens been there?
Only when approved on where exactly they're going to
ladies
go, and they're
gentlemen.
not allowed to go anywhere except for where's approved.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen.
But they've
You
been
can
approved to go there.
Antarctica,
And
Only
McMurdo's
approved
not
to
a
go
military
where-
base.
but it's the
Only
government.
to go where they let you go, and they do not approve circumnavigation all the way over Antarctica. They claim it's too dangerous.
But you can go into Antarctica.
So I can go any. That doesn't mean I'm proving the Earth's a ball and it's an ice cap on the bottom. I'd have to go over it and come back up on the other side of the ball, wouldn't I, Taylor?
And McMurdo's not a military base, by the way. It's a research facility.
Okay. Are you going to just skate
Yeah,
past?
so you
You're just going to
lied.
skate past the point.
No, I
Yeah,
didn't
well,
lie. I was
I'm gonna
wrong.
go straight
so
to the
what?
lie.
It doesn't matter. I already told you that I know a man who went to Antarctica, and it doesn't prove that the Earth is a ball either way.
So I
mean,
know
how
a
long
guy.
do you want to sit here and go, no,
I know
you
a
can't.
guy
Yes,
at
you
the
can.
other
I
side
know a
Yes,
guy
Yes,
who
you
went to the
can.
moon.
One
He
sec,
worked
just
for
one
I know a
NASA,
guy who
Taylor.
went to the
Just
moon.
hear-
So
just hear-
NASA.
you
He
guys,
worked for
just so
NASA.
we can hear one person at a time.
He literally worked for NASA.
I know a guy who went to the moon.
This is non-sequitur.
So what?
A guy that worked
I
for
don't believe
NASA
you
that was
do.
stationed in Antarctica says that you do not in any way are able to prove the Earth's a ball by being there, and that you don't see the 24-hour sun. He works for NASA and was stationed in Antarctica for NASA, and he's a flat earther. So it's
And
not just the
so-
same as saying, I know a guy.
So he has published a paper
Lives
on
an hour
flat
from my
Earth. It gets
house.
peer reviewed. What was he doing there? Can I ask? What was he doing research on? What's it? You got a name?
He was actually doing, I can't remember. I did an interview with him a while ago, but it was something to do actually with satellites
Oh, fantastic!
and weather. It was
We can
weather
start
and
to move on
satellite
satellites
related.
soon.
It was
You guys are
weather
the
and
best
satellite related.
On
Flat
that
Earth
note,
recruiters ever.
On that note, Amy, would you like to explain why you can't fake the footage from the Himawari weather satellite?
Because you would have to be generating that in real time at all times.
It's not real time. It's a 10-minute
It's not real
delay.
time.
Yeah, how fast can you Photoshop accurate weather patterns?
Now you're asking us. So first it was real
Photoreal-
time. First it was real time. Now you
Photorealistically.
guys have been exposed for claiming it's real time, and you're objectively wrong. And now you're saying, oh, 10 minutes isn't fast
You know
enough
what
when you
real
have
time means.
algorithms of computers and artificial intelligence.
That
Good
can
story.
assess every cloud. So somehow this technology exists that can record every cloud's movement and then put it photorealistically into a picture every 10 minutes.
We use
Did you
weather
check all
balloons.
those
That's your-
clouds
that's
of
your
every
claim now?
picture? Did you check
How-
every cloud of every picture to make sure it was actually correct and true to weather patterns? And can you show me that?
I didn't, but you
And
should.
so the claim is the science.
You
so
could
wait,
debunk
so
it.
let's.
You could.
The claim is the scientists are generating visual effects for you people. Once again, it's a massive conspiracy. They're generating visual effects.
You're just appealing to emotion.
Eyes.
You're just
Based
appealing to
on nothing.
emotion.
I'm sorry. What was your model? What was your model?
You're just appealing to
claim-
emotion. You're
Oh no!
imploding. So
the floor is yours for your model. I'm ready. Like
right,
Taylor
you guys-
said, your class is yours.
You guys are freaking out, but this is great recruitment for Flat Earth. So you guys claim that it was live time, and it's objectively not, right? So we have
Right.
weather patterns.
No,
recorded
we
all
said
the
there's a
time
delay.
with weather balloons, right? So we do keep a documentation of the weather very frequently. And yeah, you would just feed this information to an artificial intelligence algorithm that would give you a picture. They're not even always accurate. And you can actually go look and see that it is not a singular picture when you look at the actual extrapolation of the data. Now, whenever Karen B asked you, okay, have you done this?
That doesn't mean
You made-
anything.
You made the bold claim that you can prove it by looking at weather patterns. And then she said, have you done it? And you said, no, you should do it.
But
So you
can
guys
you
just
say
make
that out
stuff
loud?
up.
Do it
Wait.
because you're the one claiming that it's fake. So you show me any instances of fakeness, but you just claim with no evidence
It's
that
already been shown
this
to be
amazing
fake.
technology exists
No,
and
what
that
we're-
it is in fact being used to fake.
And
You're
you,
claiming it's real. So
evidence.
the positive claim is that it's real, right? We're saying that's not
Okay.
sufficient
Right.
evidence or proof of anything because you could easily fake an image and then send it to people. That doesn't prove the Earth's a
Not
ball.
easily.
So that's called a
You-
straw man fallacy, Taylor.
No, you would need, I'm glad you said that though, because you would need a technology that has not been shown to exist in order to do this. And I'm wondering, what is your standard of evidence for a picture or video? Is it that you don't like this, so you just claim it's CGI? But so like what picture or video would you accept? Do you just automatically reject all pictures and all video because it
Any
might be
claim
CGI?
that comes from the government claiming that they went
Okay.
to outer space and we can't personally verify and it's not legitimately testable, we don't blindly give our entire worldview like mental midgets and say, okay, well, we're going to blindly believe this because the government made a claim. So that's our actual stance. So
But
try
you-
again.
Mhm.
But
I
you
wanna
do
go
believe
back.
video. You do believe video and picture when it's shown to you in other circumstances, though, don't you?
If it's
And I
independently
also
verifiable.
want to point out that he said, ladies and gentlemen, remember, the government is generating an algorithm. It is a massive conspiracy that they are trying to fool you that the earth is round. Now, he doesn't want to say the end of that sentence. He just wants to say the beginning. But, ladies and gentlemen, they're lying to you. The governments are working together, creating wars.
You're just making stuff up now. So yeah, we know that governments lie, right? Like they admittedly lie within the intrinsic description of what a government is. They automatically compartmentalize and keep things classified. That's what a government is. Admittedly, our government has started wars, ironically, like Gulf of Tonkin's declassified a false flag attack our government did themselves. So we're not claiming we know that not everything the government's saying is a lie. We're not claiming millions of people are in on it. That's a straw man. What we're claiming is we don't blindly believe stories and propaganda that comes from the government when they are notoriously known to be dishonest and mislead us. We need something that's independently verifiable.
Right.
Don't
So
want
I don't trust the
something
government
independently
either. I don't trust the government either at all. So I'm with you there, except we have this whole scientific community that isn't the government that's independently verifying what NASA says.
Really? Can you give me some specific examples? It's illegal to privately go out there and do this. So what are these magical scientists you're talking about?
Literally all physicists.
Literally all
All
physicists.
physicists.
Now you're just
Scientific
appealing-
All
consensus
physicists went to space.
is that it is a round Earth in which we have went to the moon.
Do you believe
No,
there
actually,
are
I know
places?
tons of physicists that
You-
don't think the moon landing was real. You guys are just making stuff up.
Well,
I just
I'm
talked
waiting
to a
for them to
quantum
peer
physicist
review
the other day who
papers.
thinks the Earth is flat. I just talked to
Yeah.
an astrophysicist the other day who thinks there may be an ether and that relativity is wrong and the Earth could be geocentric. I just talked to another physicist the other day who knows the Earth is flat. So you guys are making
Once
stuff up.
again, how many people
I talked
you
to a
talk
guy
to
who
at the
believes
end
the
of the
thing.
bar does not matter. You need them to publish papers.
You're the one that
love-
appealed to the idea of physicists. Try to keep up Amy.
Yes,
so you guys want to
scientific
move on.
consensus, not guys at the bar. Do you understand the
I
difference between
talked-
scientific consensus
I
and
want
the
to let
guy
Karen
at the
B
end of the
talk
bar?
to you.
Oh my God. Why do you?
So I talked to a guy who believes the thing is good enough evidence for you, but
No.
scientific consensus is not.
That's another straw man fallacy. I didn't claim that
It's not.
because this physicist thinks the earth is flat, that means it proves it. What I said was you claimed all physicists prove and verify NASA's claims. Now, this is patently absurd and false on its face. For one, it's illegal to go to space. We're talking about these claims of them going to space and turning around and taking a picture of the Earth, okay? No physicists ever verified any of that. You made that up. And then when you appeal to all, because your guys are just appealing to emotion, you're appealing to the idea of science, right? It's the most fallacious idea ever. And I'm pointing out that actually not all physicists agree on really pretty much anything. So can we get to the actual evidence maybe at some point? Or are we just going to keep appealing to emotion?
My favorite
No, you're
emotion,
right. There might be like one or two physicists on the globe who believe that. Who maybe
you don't know any.
have a
You're not some
bachelor's
arbiter
degree.
of truth that knows what all physicists think, man. You sound ridiculous.
Do most physicists agree with you? What do you think
I
that
don't care.
percentage is?
I don't. It doesn't
What would
matter.
you
It's a
estimate
I
non-scientific.
don't
that
even
is?
claim to have talked to most
99%,
physicists, and it doesn't matter.
99.9999%.
So
We don't
if
appeal to
99
authority.
Yeah, appeal
Yeah,
to
so-
authority and majority. If 99% of people think slavery is real, and I mean immoral, does that make it good? What a stupid argument.
Bible,
It's-
slavery.
it's an appeal
Now you're
to
freaking out talking
expertise,
about your
actually.
infatuation with the Bible. So you guys are just all over the place, just imploding
Oh,
with red
no.
herring fallacy.
Excuse, can I actually ask you, is the main reason why you are a flat earther scientific or religious?
It's scientific, even though measurement's actually not a science question, but yeah, scientific falsification of the globe earth
It
claims.
has nothing to do with religion?
No, literally nothing.
Nothing, even though that
No.
you say a flat earther cannot be an atheist.
Yeah, that doesn't mean you don't understand it. So if
No,
the earth
tie
is-
that to square that circle.
I will.
for me.
I will pull that pencil out and take notes or something. So if the Earth is stationary, okay, write it down. If the Earth is stationary, and that would mean it's geocentric. And if it's geocentric, it's the center of all things that are perceived, meaning there is no logical postulation that could explain that without it being placed there.
I've got one. Simulation theory.
Well,
Oh, who
So if you
created the
convince
programming
me-
of the
Wait.
simulation?
If
Placed
you
there by
convince
who?
me,
Who created the programming of the simulation?
yeah. If you convince me that the earth was flat, I wouldn't go to automatically to God. So
Well, I'm not-
why don't you teach me how this gravity thing works? Because that's why I'm convinced that the earth is a globe.
Really?
Because,
Okay. What's gravity?
yeah,
Yeah, what's gravity?
but he also said
it's
a
an
half
acceleration
sentence.
of mass towards mass.
He said it was put there, but he didn't say creator. Like he does half sentences. Like it had to be put there by
Oh,
but it
that's
has
the
nothing
point.
to do with a
So
God.
the religion would come in when you personify or make specific claims about what the creator is or whatever, but the necessary antecedent to design is intelligent design. So it just means that it's placed there, atheism would no longer be viable. You don't have
There
to
we go.
personify it or come up with a religion. And that's not why people think the earth's flat. It's once you prove that the earth is flat and not what they said it is, then it's just an antecedent for a geocentric stationary earth. So I don't want to just not let Karen B talk though. I mean, Karen B would destroy you guys. You guys are just, she's a little too polite for you guys, I think. That's what I
So
think.
do you have anything to say about how our understanding of gravity is all wrong?
Yeah.
I'm here to learn.
Yeah.
Well,
So go ahead,
I
Karen B.
mean, well, first of all, you keep talking about mass attracting mass. So what about Einstein? Einstein is supposed to be the prevailing gravitational theory, and that has nothing to do with mass attracting mass. It's like bendy space time. So how do you reconcile that? The difference between Einstein and Newtonian gravity.
Under his theory, mass warps space-time, which causes mass to accelerate towards mass.
But it's not attraction, right? So like, yeah.
I said acceleration.
Well, at first you said you didn't actually. So, but either way. So the question is, did you not know
Wait, did
that
you just say
relativity
it?
has already been demonstrated to have tons of problems, and it doesn't? It's actually provably right now at the best, in the best case scenario, incomplete within your own paradigm. You didn't know that?
So you think that I said attract?
No response. No response. It doesn't matter.
You
It
said-
doesn't matter. When you
Do
say
you think
Cavendish,
that
you're
I said
claiming mass
attracts
attraction.
or accelerates?
So you said that the independent variable was mass, right? But so actually the
Of
independent
Cavendish,
variable,
yeah.
actually in the independent variable, according to relativity, would be the bending and warping of space time. So it wouldn't be the mass itself. It would actually be the effect of the bending and warping of space time. So that would be your independent variable. So when you said it was
Okay,
mass,
according to that
you were
model,
claiming mass.
This is just very dishonest because what warps space-time?
Well, in your paradigm, the displacement
Under that model.
Yeah,
in that model.
Yeah, in your paradigm, the mass displaces the bending and
Thank you.
Right, but that's not the point. You claim
Let's
the
move
independent
on.
variable, which is supposed to be the cause, but the cause is the bending and warping of space-time. You need to manipulate space-time, and just reifying it by saying, "Oh, I changed the mass," doesn't actually verify that causal agent, which has been debunked in your own paradigm.
How do you warp something that has no
No,
properties?
because mass
Space has no properties.
Yeah, answer
Space
that.
has property.
How do you? What are the
'cause
properties
space
of
has property.
space?
So space
What are the
and
properties
time,
of space?
So space and time are uniquely
Dimensions.
tied together. Wherever you
Dimensions
have a
is not a
space,
property.
you have a time. Wherever you are in time, you have a space. So it is a single landmark that we call space-time.
Non sequitur. So she's asking, how does space have physical properties? That's what she asked.
Once again,
Dimensionality is a property of space.
ever
No,
since the
That's a
Big
mathematical
Bang.
description. That's not a physical property. Try
I
again.
don't consider that a property.
It's a description of a physical property.
No, it's not.
Try
It's a
again.
description of an amount of area, of volume. It's a different Cartesian coordinate system of area or volume that isn't a physical property.
It is.
No,
It is a property. It is a thing.
it's not a thing.
That
They
is
claim
a
it's nothing.
property.
They claim it's nothing. They claim it's
So-
emptiness.
Space. So space does not have dimensions.
Dimensions is just an arbitrary description mathematically to describe a certain
Of-
Cartesian coordinate
of
system applied to
something-
something, but your religion, or heliocentrism, claims that space is emptiness or nothingness.
It's a description of
globe
something
priests.
that space-time has, right?
No, you can just mathematically describe it with the Cartesian coordinate system. Space is considered nothingness or emptiness.
It's not considered nothingness. So
It's considered emptiness, yeah.
Space, empty of matter, right? So space has dimensions.
Well, could describe
Okay.
its
Therefore, it is
dimensions.
a property of space. That's how
No.
English works. Sorry
Yeah.
to burst your bubble.
You don't understand dimensions aren't physical properties. You have to have something physical in which you're applying the dimensions to. So you'll get there.
Dimensions are physics, and it is physical. Yeah.
Dimensions
It's
are
not-
physics.
Dimensions are not mass, but dimensions is
math.
physics.
Math. Dimensions are math.
I also want to know both
Which
of
is
you said
physics.
that
Math isn't
you,
physics.
No, it's not.
And I wasn't commenting on your math comment. I'm saying it's not mass. So that's probably what you're thinking of as physical. It's not mass,
It's not mass or
but it
energy.
is. But there are non-mass things in physics that are physical.
Okay, can you define physical?
Anything that has to do with physics.
Anything that, okay, so the definition of physical in your own paradigm is energy or mass. So
And space.
is which one?
I said and space.
No. Energy and mass. So which one is it that space falls under the category of, energy or mass?
Neither.
Okay, so it's not physical, even within your own paradigm's definition. So we can move on.
All right.
Nope.
physical universe is anything that we are able to interact with. That's why we don't seem to get any experiments from the flat earth side. In fact, both of them said that they went out, they did the experiments themselves. However, as far as I could tell, neither of them published papers. And so there is nothing to be added to the scientific community. And as long as they put, how they got their results, their methodology, other people can then do the same thing.
Yeah,
And,
you're just
oh,
Go
no,
ahead.
continue.
Actually,
Well, no, I
appealing
just
to
wanna know the
consensus.
journal.
Karen B, sorry, go ahead.
there is a paper published, actually, a very long paper. It's over 100 pages long PDF that has been published by the group of people that I did the measurements with. I didn't call them experiments. They were actually direct measurements of the Earth's surface to try to measure the Earth for curvature, because they do give us a given size of the Earth, which is the radius of 3959, which you could then, from that, you can, go do basic geometry and extrapolate the numbers. And then you should know how much curvature you should see from one point to another. And every time we did measurements, we did not measure any curvature at all.
And what journal was this published in, if I ask?
It wasn't published in
Nature?
a journal because you're not going to publish in a scientific, mainstream scientific journal something that debunks everything that they try to push.
Yeah, so
Right,
your
again,
argument
We
is
It's
did
a
publish it
conspiracy.
ourselves, but we did publish it ourselves, and it is
I bet you
available
did.
for public viewing, and I can
And
give
it's
it to
done
you
by
right now.
engineers. Yeah, it's done by a group of engineers, and it's in-depth documentation of all the tools, all the methodologies, all the data, all the refractive conditions. the
7
refractive
different
index.
measurements.
Yeah.
Yes, 7
Apparently,
different
the
measurements.
rest of the scientists don't think it was good methodology.
Oh,
And
can you
unless
name
you
one
can
that
But
looked
they
publish
at
haven't
it?
it.
seen it.
You
name
can
one that looked at
also
it?
find this published
You
at
need to do that.
www.thisisdefinitely.blogspot.com.
So all you guys are doing is just like, because you guys have no substantive value to your argument, so you're just appealing to consensus. You're like, oh well,
No.
the
Scientific.
mainstream didn't peer review it and say it was true, so therefore it's not. But ironically, what you just claimed is true, right? Which is relativity. I can cite, since you like to appeal to consensus so much, and whatever a scientist says is true, which is stupid because they all disagree. I can tell you at least 500 different people that say the theory of relativity is not viable, must be replaced, and is in no way complete or compatible, for example, with quantum or the cosmological scale. And you just said you proved it with Cavendish. So you have a contradictory worldview. You're just trying to gaslight us. That's all you're doing. You're gaslighting us for the audience to pretend that somehow, since you have the majority of people on your side, that means you're right.
So how am I supposed to tell the difference between you actually being right and all of us being wrong, and all the experts being wrong, and you just teaming up with some people and saying, I know a guy who said it wasn't round? How am I supposed to tell the difference?
Do you know what strawman fallacies are? Because it's like the most dishonest fallacy that one can use in a debate, where no one made any of those claims that you're saying. We didn't say that some guy told us and therefore one guy told us so the earth is flat. No, we said you can go out and physically prove via empirical, replicatable demonstrations and measurements and experiments that falsify the claim of the globe earth model. That's what we're actually saying. So everything you're saying is a non sequitur, bro. You're just making up strawman fallacies. It's lame.
No, how am I supposed to know the difference? Because I know of several ways to measure the curvature.
Name one.
And you just call them CGI.
Name one.
Pictures, looking at lakes that curve with your eyes.
Pictures measure
that
the
curve.
earth.
Looking at the stars, which can't spin in opposite directions unless you're on literally anything but a flat surface.
None of those things
That's
measure
not-
the earth.
They do.
Hey, can I share the screen?
No,
so
they
I can go ahead
don't.
and-
All you can
Yep.
do with the lights in the sky is observe them. You can't use them as a form of measurement because there's no frame of reference.
You can observe that, and those aren't spinning in different directions. You're just slightly warping it.
Okay, so that would give you the optical illusion of things moving in different directions based on the containment, actually. So what's up? What's your answer?
No, it doesn't,
Why not?
because that's not an optical illusion of things spinning in opposite directions.
We're literally looking at it, though.
And that's
We're
an
not.
interesting thing. It says glass
We literally are.
dome. That makes it almost seem like this dome is made of glass. Wouldn't that be interesting if you just go up to the dome and try and crack it, get right through it?
Why are you changing
And
the
you're on
subject,
t-
buddy?
and this
Hey,
is
hey,
on
There's
top
glass
of the dome.
Milady, right up there.
You're changing the subject. So, Taylor, you just said no. You have any substantive specificity of any value, or
Because it's not spinning in opposite directions. Maybe
They
it's the
literally
frame
are.
rate for me, but it's not. And this is observed. This is not observed.
What do you mean it's
And
not
this is taken from above the dome.
okay?
So this is not a model.
You would be perceiving the stars through the dome.
More
there.
cartoon.
Under it.
Hey, there's
Under it.
also
Does it-
other, there's also a magnetic
look
field. You could
different
have two
under?
parallel things of stars themselves. Actually, two sets of stars within a magnetic field that can be depicted. You would get the exact same thing. Also, magnetic holography. Also, magnetic.
Pure
holography.
speculation.
I'm
I love
you're saying it's-
speculation
you said it's no.
as scientific
You
evidence.
said it was impossible. I'm showing you
Mhm.
that's not true. There are many possibilities. As I then lay out the possibilities, which refute your claim that it's impossible, you now say it's speculation because we can't physically go to these locations and verify things. So that's a non sequitur. Your claim that it's impossible has been disproven.
You're not showing me stars under a dome. You're not showing me anything like that.
Does this show that a container, that some type of physical container can alter the stars and make them look like they're going in opposite directions? Yes or no?
Not like the Earth, and it doesn't look like it to me.
Okay, well, we'll let the audience decide. If you just say no, doesn't mean anything. Everyone can see them going in two different directions.
No, it looks like it's just going in one direction to me.
Okay, well, I'm sorry that you can't.
Pretty
see
bad
things.
frame rate.
Can I ask, do you guys believe in the atmosphere?
Yeah, we believe in the Atmos.
What is holding the atmosphere down if not for gravity?
There's a physical containment. We don't see gravity hold gas down. It goes in all directions.
A physical containment? Once again, like a glass dome?
So we don't have to claim glass or anything. Yep, something containing it.
We could pick something out of IKEA.
You guys got nothing. So if gravity's holding
So
the
one
gas
more-
down, why does it go in all directions?
Why does it have density gradient? What do you mean, why does it go in all directions? Because it's fluid.
Why does it have a
Okay.
density gradient?
Why is there a gradient? That's your question. We have an electric gradient on the Earth, and we have the most gas being introduced at the surface level. And the only way that you can have a pressure gradient is to have the pressure in the first place, which requires a containment. So that was easy.
It does not require containment. It only requires acceleration.
Acceleration?
What?
What does
Mhm.
acceleration have to do with a pressure gradient?
Because if the air is accelerating toward the ground, then it's going to accumulate toward the ground.
It's not, though. It goes in all directions, including directly up away from the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So if something's going up
Yeah,
away from
the
the ground, is it
pressure-
accelerating towards the ground?
most of it is accelerating towards the ground.
That's a non sequitur. The point is that the gas goes in all directions.
It's actually a direct answer to what you said.
No, you said that it's all going down.
Yeah, most of it is going down.
Is it
And
most
some
or
of it
all?
might move a little bit. So what? That's how fluids work.
So even
it's
your
like
model
water.
claims it has to be contained, Taylor. You don't know that?
It doesn't need a solid container.
It needs
Gravity,
physical containment.
gravity, which is physical, but not solid, will contain air and water.
But it doesn't at the surface where it's the strongest. It goes in all directions.
It does.
It goes in all directions.
So
And it's also, there's an electric gradient on the Earth. So we can prove that there's an electrostatic field and electric gradient on the Earth, which electrostatics on the smallest scale is 10 to the 39th power stronger than gravity even claims to be. And we can actually prove that's there. So can you actually prove that this magical bending and warping of space-time is there without just begging the question and saying, look, I moved mass around? Can you prove it?
it doesn't matter. We observe the phenomena that all matter accelerates towards matter. It doesn't matter how it happens.
Really?
We don't
So
have to know.
all
Yeah.
matter accelerates towards other matter.
Including air, and you can demonstrate this. You can fill up any container with air and weigh it against something else. It's going to be heavier when it has air in it
Okay.
because
creating
air is
pressure.
mass.
It creates pressure.
Pressure is not weight.
Well, really, what's pressure over area of a scale? What is that? What's pressure over a certain area of a scale?
It's not weight.
It literally is. If you have a certain
No,
amount
it's
of
not.
downward pressure over a certain area, that's called weight.
Yeah. What did you just say? Downward pressure? What causes
Yeah.
that direction downward?
Okay.
Why not
so,
sideways?
So you admitted you can't prove your claim, so I'll help you out. So there's an electric gradient. Everything's intrinsically electrostatic, right? So all molecular and intermolecular.
You can't prove that.
All molecular and intermolecular attractive forces are electrostatic in nature. There's not one piece of matter in all existence that isn't electrostatic. That's a citation from Purdue University. What do you mean I can't prove it? Literally everything that exists.
Because so if I drop this, it's going to fall at a certain speed. If I put it next to something, it's not going to fall towards that because it's not attracted electrostatically.
Okay, that's right. That's a non sequitur. If you were to turn,
No, it proves you wrong.
No, it doesn't. If you were,
Yes, it does.
Wait, are you saying the marker isn't electrostatic?
Not enough to move it.
Oh, not enough to move it. So it had to be stronger, but it's still there. Thank you for playing. So if we increase the electrostatics to the other marker, we could draw it in, and we can prove electrostatics does this because we can use a Van de Graaff generator and make things float, manipulating electrostatics. Can you give me an anti-gravity machine? Can you show me where you manipulate the bending and warping of space-times and make things float?
If you can make something float and turn off its gravity, it will just keep going.
And then afterwards,
why
I have
does
another
it-
question.
It
You can't
reaches
answer
a
the
certain
question. You
point
can't answer the
where
question.
it reaches a certain point where you push it away and then it falls back down.
Can you answer the question? So in science, we have an independent variable, right? So we have a naturally occurring observable phenomena that things go down, downward acceleration. Now, not all things go down, things go up also. The question is, why does it just go up and down and not side to side? Well, we have an intrinsic bias, an electric gradient going up 100 volts per meter on the Earth, right? So we have a positive above, negative surface charge on the surface, and everything's electrostatic. We see it happen with electrostatic levitation, with bumblebees and with spider ballooning and with beetles. They use their electrostatic nature to levitate. Right. So then we're going to test our hypothesis. Does electrostatics have something to do with why things go down? So what we're going to do is manipulate the electrostatics to see if it's the cause of the effect. And when we do that, we can make things float. So we've proven that electrostatics is at play and does affect the direction that things go. Now you're claiming there's something else there called the bending and warping of space-time. Can you manipulate the bending and warping of space-time, please, and prove that it's a cause? Or is it just me that has all the scientific evidence and you just have a religion?
You have zero scientific evidence. Also,
before you go on, Taylor, I just want to point out he used religion in a negative way. Austin, I agree. We should continue saying religion is bad. People should not believe in religions. And now right back over to you, Taylor.
I don't like religion.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. We agree.
Man-made doctrine.
Nobody's here arguing in favor of religion.
Yeah.
So
conspiracy theory, though.
You pretended like electrostatic forces can debunk gravity, and yet there's still a force of gravity pulling it down. So yeah, you can use a magnet to make something float, but it only floats so far. You're accelerating something in this direction.
Oh, here we go with the whiteboard.
Yeah, that's all I got, unfortunately.
You can't even respond to the point, though.
There's something moving it in that direction, though.
We just explained it. Yeah, there's electrostatic acceleration. All objects that go down are electrostatic. Whether you drop rubber or glass or wood, you name it, it's all electrostatic. The surface of the Earth is electrostatic. The air is electrostatic. We can replicate this with a Van de Graaff generator and make things float. You lose.
And you can't replicate the effects of gravity. But
what
you can.
Are you talking about?
But you can with mass. So I can use things of differing electrostatic strength and get the same effect of gravity using the Cavendish experiment.
Cavendish uses mass that's electrostatic.
But it doesn't even matter, because even if I granted you all this electrostatic woo-woo, it would still mean that you can hold an atmosphere to the surface of a round planet. It would still make a round thing. Nothing could stay flat. If it is indeed electrostatic, it doesn't matter. It's an attractive force of some kind.
Even if there's a big pressure differential, what about the pressure differential between quote unquote space and Earth?
If there's some electrostatic attraction, if there's electrostatic attraction of air to the Earth, then yeah, it can hold it to the Earth. Same with water.
Do you know what space is supposedly supposed to be? As far as
what are you looking for?
Like, do you know that they say that space is 10 to the negative 17 torr? Do you know that they say that it's like 76 quintillion times less atmosphere than on Earth? Like nothing?
So and did you know?
That's a huge space, right? To be filled up without a container stopping that.
Right, vacuum, and what's stopping that is something is pulling the air down.
Yeah, that's what you're claiming, but gas goes in all directions, and the only
you claimed it too.
Well, no, what I'm doing is acknowledging what's provable with science, so we can prove that we have electricity on the Earth. We can prove there's an electric gradient on the Earth. We can prove that you can get a downward current on the Earth using an electrostatic generator. It's called a corona motor. We can prove that things can float with the manipulation of electrostatics. So we've proven everything that I'm talking about. We can prove that all matter that exists is electrostatic. This is all provable. Now you're claiming something else that's not provable, but you want to try to critique my claim with all these different questions, but you won't even provide any evidence for your claim at all. So can you please prove your bending and warping of space-time?
Well, I also want to ask, because you brought up a question from a while. We were talking about the dome that you didn't want to talk about. It seems to be that it has like a integrity that just doesn't break. And so I wondered, why it seems to be lasting all these years. You would think it would need maintenance. You would think that it would need repairs. You would think that it would need something then a law of nature that is making and maintaining. We're alive, so our cells maintain. Why is it that this dome just seems to be there and forever?
That's a complete non sequitur trying to shift away from the actual conversation. Taylor, you're getting exposed here, man. Can you tell me how you prove the bending and warping of space time?
No answer. Gotcha.
Yeah, you're asking me something that's unverifiable and it's a non sequitur. So
you're now, but we can continue
you're just
to move
speculating
on
about
you don't
what
have
you
an
think.
answer.
Yep.
No,
you just assert there's a dome for no reason.
Yeah. What is maintaining the dome?
Not for no reason. It's because it has to do with the second law of
Is it
thermodynamics,
finite?
gas pressure, and all that.
Will
good
the
stuff.
dome go away? I'm sorry, Karen, you were talking.
Yeah, she just smoked you.
I'm just saying it.
Yeah, so gas.
I mean, whatever.
The way
She says
gas
second law of
pressure.
thermodynamics.
Does not.
Hold on.
And it
Yeah,
equals the
gas
dome?
pressure.
Well, it
Gas
equals some
pressure does
type of
not
physical
work.
containment. Yeah.
So vacuums don't suck. The way gas pressure works is it has to push into the
No
vacuum.
one said vacuums suck.
Yeah, I didn't say that.
You just
I
have
didn't
straw
say you
mans
did.
and you have a script.
I
Can
didn't
you
say.
address
Did I
the
say
whole-
that you did?
Yeah,
Did I say you
said-
did?
Then why are you pretending you're teaching us about how they don't suck?
Because I'm making a point about why something would go up or down.
It would fill the available space
So-
regardless of what direction.
No, it doesn't. Because
Yeah, it
guess
would.
what? You asserted this downward acceleration. I don't care what causes it. We can call it electrostatics. We can call it gravity. But
No, we
there's a
can't.
downward acceleration.
We can't
And
call
you
it
admit
gravity
it.
though because
Therefore,
gravity-
I'm mid thought.
Okay, go ahead.
Therefore, so you have empty space up here. There's stuff being accelerated downward. What's going to cause it to expand upward? Nothing, because it's going accelerating downward due to the
No.
force that you admitted.
When gas is going straight up, believe it or not, it's not accelerating downward. Okay. The reason you can't say it can be electrostatic or it can be gravity is because electrostatics is way too weak to do what you need it to do. Now we can prove electrostatics is there, but they had to make a new claim because it's too weak to claim that you can bend the convexity of the oceans around a ball and all this other nonsense. So you had to make up a new story called gravity, which has constantly been changing, has been debunked on the cosmological scale and the quantum scale, and everyone knows relativity is wrong. It's incomplete at the best. You have dark matter, dark energy, and it doesn't work on the quantum scale. It doesn't work on the quantum scale at all. You guys run around the internet and pretend you know it's a definitive fact when everyone that is in the very group that you're appealing to, these scientists that I speak with, say there's no doubt relativity is wrong and 100% is not actually what gravity is. If it does exist at all, they haven't been able to discover the graviton, and I could go on forever about what's wrong with relativity. You're claiming it though. I demonstrated to the audience and to everyone else, I can prove electrostatics. You're claiming something additional to that, and every time I ask you for evidence that we can prove that you manipulated the bending and warping of space-time, or can you prove that relativity is true, you change the subject because the answer is no, you can't prove it, and every single physicist that you ever talk to that knows anything about this conversation would know that you can't prove it because it hasn't been proven.
Your
so
favorite
Strawman-
paper going against relativity? You seem to be scientists are saying the scientists at the end of the bar I were at were saying it. Do you know if any of the scientists that you were talking at the end of the bar published any papers?
Yeah, literally all of quantum mechanics
All
knows
of
that.
them.
Yeah, literally. So you seem to be ignorant of the subject.
So you trust those scientists for some reason.
Well, that's experimentally valid. Like we can actually test that. We're physically manipulating things and testing it, right? But whenever you talk about your fairy tales of space, that's a totally different ballgame. And even in your fairy tale of space, relativity doesn't work there either, and it's known for a long time.
So it is experimentally validated that if you have a larger mass, you get a faster acceleration toward it. I don't care whether it's the bending of space-time or electrostatics. I don't care at all.
You
Because
should
what
care,
we
though.
can show, not for this topic.
Yeah, for this topic.
No,
Hey,
not for this topic.
If I put
Because it
helium
only
in a balloon,
matters.
am I bending
It only
space-time?
matters. Yeah, it only matters. Yeah, it's irrelevant, but it only matters what the direction is.
No, you don't understand. It matters about the strength as well, Taylor. So the strength needed to keep, well, listen carefully. It's not, I don't care if it's electrostatics or gravity. You can't say that because for the Earth to be a ball, it has to be gravity. It can't be electrostatics because electrostatics is too weak. It wouldn't hold the gas down next to a pressure system of 10 to the negative 17 torr, and neither would gravity, by the way. And it wouldn't explain the convexity of the oceans. It wouldn't make these planets revolve around each other. Electrostatics doesn't work. You need what's called gravity. So when you say, I don't care which one it is, you're showing your ignorance of the subject. You don't fully understand it, which is normally why people are globers.
And then after you respond, Taylor, I want to make a question.
Except that air actually falls, and you claim it's due to electrostatics. I don't care what it's due to. I only care what direction it moves.
I say gas doesn't always fall.
Down.
Gas doesn't always fall.
So?
Goes in all directions.
It does always fall.
Does helium fall? If I fill the balloon with helium, is it going to fall?
Yeah. Depending on which environment you're in. If you fill up a tank, a solid tank of helium, it will be heavier with the helium in it.
How'd you measure that? Oh, it'll be
because
how did you get the helium in that tank? How does it stay in there?
How do you know?
I'm not familiar with helium technology. But if what you say is true, that this electrostatic gravity cannot hold air to the ground, then we should have higher air pressure up the top toward the dome that you can't prove, that you just speculate about. No. But we actually see the opposite because mass always gets attracted downwards. And yes, mass can push mass in all kinds of directions because I can move my arms and push air up. But it's always going to come back down.
It pulls it down and pushes it up at the same time.
Can I also ask?
Yes, it's bendy space-time. Witsit, don't you get it? The bendy space-time. We can all bendy space-time in every direction at every moment all over at the same time. It's fine. It all works fine.
I know it's hard to believe, but you can have opposing directions of acceleration.
No, I know that. Wow. I know that. Taylor, see, all you can do is try to straw man and pretend you're smarter than we are. Because it's called Taylor, it's called sophistry. So what just happened was you said, you know that you can have opposing accelerative directions, right? But actually what I was pointing out that what you said was stupid was because you said that it was the gravity that was pushing it away, that mass can push it away while pulling it. You're ignorant. That's not what happens. So that's what you said.
Didn't say that.
You may have misspoke. I know that you said it. The whole audience heard you say it. You 100%
I didn't say that.
Yes, you did. You said the mass pushes it away. You said the mass can push it away.
You said it pushes it in all directions.
You literally
did not say gravity can push.
You said the mass pushes it away.
Can I also
that's called the normal force. That's what a normal force is. So sorry, Amy, go ahead.
Oh no, you said enough. We have the moon, the other celestial bodies like our star, all of the other planets. Do they have domes? What is making them round?
Okay. Cameron, you got it, man.
All the things in the sky are just lights in the sky. Nobody's gone there. Nobody's physically touched them. Nobody's physically measured them. They are just lights in the sky.
How do you know that?
That's it. How do I know that? Because I can see that they're lights in the sky. Nobody's physically measured them. Do you know how they measured the distance to the sun? Did they get a physical tape measure? No, I didn't. I just said do you deny that they're lights in the sky?
You said they're just lights in the sky.
Do you deny that there are lights in the sky?
So are you claiming
are there no lights in the sky? There's no luminaries.
Are you saying they're not stars?
There's no luminaries in the sky. Is this what
you're saying? They're not stars.
When you say
you just said there were lights in the sky.
I just said there are luminaries in the sky. I'm not assuming anything about what they are other than that because I haven't physically touched them. I haven't been there. Nobody I know has been there. It's not independently falsifiable. We can't verify
pictures of planets that are round.
You have CGI.
We can see the other side of them.
Ladies and gentlemen, see the other side. These are two people with literally no expertise in CGI, film, or anything.
Excuse me, little miss. I have a degree in graphic design. I also have a degree in graphic design and multimedia, and I've been using Photoshop since its first iteration before there were even layers.
Ladies and gentlemen,
before there were even layers.
She has seen a pixel and quite a few shoops in her time, and so she knows that
You're like the worst comedian ever, by the way.
I know, this is insane. You're not funny.
You're allowed to call me the worst comedian because comedy is a subjective thing, and
you're funny, but not in the way that you're going for.
I get it. But ladies and gentlemen, They do not have anything but cartoons and CGI that they create. Meanwhile, we have actual photos and
I have
video.
measurements. I put a link in the chat here to the measurement, measurement PDF if you want to read it. Be my guest.
I also
Yeah, and there are
point
measurements
out
of the
not
curve.
to-
So
also
No,
not
there
to
aren't.
Oh,
dis-
there it's no, it's measurements of a lack.
yeah, there
thereof.
are.
Okay, what are the measurements of curve, Taylor?
So if you have measurements of curve and you have measurements of no curve, what does that mean? It's
What
a
are
curve.
the measurements of curve, Taylor?
I've already been over this.
Name one.
I'm responding to Karen because you cut in while I was responding to her.
Oh, you can't
So,
answer.
and I've already answered your question, so I'm not
No,
going to
you
waste any
can't
more
answer.
time on that.
Can't answer.
I did. So we expect that there would be flat parts on a giant globe.
We do?
And then, yeah, because it's so large that the curve is so gradual that some parts are going to appear flat. This
It's a
is
disco
flat.
ball.
And
It's a golf ball.
okay.
So I don't measure curvature on this, but
That's not
if
a
I
ball.
increase the distance, I'm going to start measuring curvature.
It's not a ball. I hope you don't.
And-
I mean, whatever.
Oh,
We're on a
man.
ball though.
That's
I
what-
also,
that's what you
Flat
said.
things
I-
on a ball.
No, we're not on a ball. I didn't measure
Mhm.
curvature at all whatsoever. Anytime I ever tried. There's literally dozens of measurements that show that there's no curvature. So why would we
There's
show lack of
literally-
curvature? Long distance, the long distance photo, Mount Canigou in France, it debunks the globe.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
they
won't
it's
know. Because-
literally impossible.
And
Are you going to tell me that
Refraction-
refraction? Oh, okay, refraction. Refraction does not bend light around the Earth curve. Okay, like the curve of a
Yes,
ball.
it
Like,
does.
no, it
3
doesn't.
miles in the air, Taylor. Like, this is the thing. You don't
We're
even
talking about
know the
hundreds of
specifics at all.
miles.
You're just making it. You don't know the specifics of the conditions. You don't know the specifics of anything. You're just saying the word you know you have to say in response to every observation. And,
But
and,
I
and the truth
also-
is, we know way more. I guarantee you, I know way more about your claim about refraction than you will ever know. I know all about it. You just say the word. And the truth is, just so the audience knows what we're talking about, we saw mountains from over 250 miles away. And the globe Earth says they should be blocked by 3 miles of Earth curvature. And yeah, we saw the miles. I mean, we saw all miles of the missing curvature, all the mountains. We saw the shoreline of the mountains. And they just say, oh, well, it looks exactly like the mountains, but it's just an illusion. And actually, the mountains aren't there. They got optically lifted up 3 miles in the air. So cool
But
story. You can just say a word.
before
Yeah,
you,
refraction is a confirmed phenomenon.
Doesn't mean it's doing what you're claiming it's doing.
Yeah, exactly.
but I also want to go back to this graphic design equals I have experience in CGI thing, because have you ever rigged a model? Have you
What
ever
about in 3D?
Yes. Have you
Yes.
ever rendered? You
Yes.
have rendered. And yet
Yes.
you're going to sit here and say that the footage that we have is being rendered right now and has been rendered since the 60s.
What do you mean
Oh, so
rendered
many
since the
straw
60s?
Straw man.
We went to the moon. We've had video footage of celestial bodies, the Earth being round, the moon being round.
You don't think they could have used models back then? I didn't say it was all CGI. It could have been
Not-
models back then.
They could
Yeah.
not have used those types of those sorts of programs did not exist.
Oh.
back
She just
then.
said
No,
a
I just said they
model.
didn't have to use a program. Back then, they could have physically built a model. In fact, you can see photos of them literally building scale models of the moon. I mean, it's
And the
not a
earth.
secret.
Yep.
And the Earth, yes.
So
Your argument is just ridiculous.
once again, it is a conspiracy that they went and they built tiny little models, and they just happened.
I don't know how
to-
tiny they were.
Yeah. They were pretty
I don't know, I
big,
don't know.
actually. The ones that
So-
they
so
showed, they were
there's-
pretty big.
So there's just CGI or models up in the dome showing us the different sides of the planet.
It's nothing but straw
What?
man.
No.
Dude, this is crazy.
Okay, so they're planets.
All you can do is straw man us. What do you think the audience thinks when everything you say
I'm
is
straw
so
manning
you're
you?
saying and it's a lie every time? What do you think they think?
That's not what I said at all.
You said so there are models in the firmament dome. No one said anything
Right,
like
that's
that.
I didn't
that's
say
a
there was
ridiculous
models in the
example
dome.
that I know you don't agree with, because the observable phenomenon is not is that we can see the different sides of a planet in the sky. And to believe that, you would have to believe that there's CGI or models in the sky. And I know you don't believe that. So where does that leave us?
Why do you
What
think
is your
that we have to
explanation?
believe? Why is it one or the other? Why do we have to assume that we know what the planets are?
What is your explanation?
There's a pulsating orb of light that has a cyclical nature within a fluid-like medium and its own luminescence based on the auditory reverberation. What's up now? Oh, it's just speculation. Yeah, no, you're just like you speculate about the sky. So thank you.
You just speculate it. And it's not a.
That's what you do.
That's why I say it's not even. We don't even bring that up. Like I don't even go there because it doesn't prove anything anyway. I'd rather talk about the Earth where we can actually physically stand and measure right here. That we could touch it. We can physically touch and measure the actual ground that we stand on, and there is no measurable curvature. And
the sand and mountains
make observations that are beyond the geometric curve.
Yep.
The sand, mountains, craters, riverbeds on Mars, that's just a pulsating light, says Austin.
That's what we see.
I guess I'm converting now.
I don't care about, I wouldn't even want you over here. So like, I'm not trying to convert you, you know, like I'm saying, we don't believe in fairy tales from the government. You say you believe the government lies all the time and you don't trust them, but NASA, everything they say is true. I'm like, okay, you're getting kind of weird, but whatever you want to believe over there, my guy. We don't believe in stuff like that. We went and tested the surface of the Earth. The geometric horizon is nowhere to be found. And now we've discovered that the globe Earth argument, which my friend Mr. Anderson said, this is why they don't want the debates on mainstream television. This is why, all right, because it would just be so bad. It would be immediately everyone knew. So we're asking for physical, empirical evidence that can be replicated to prove the geometric curve of the Earth and that it is where it's supposed to be. And all the globe earthers say is refraction, meaning we never see the curve of the Earth from the ground. We never see the actual position of the curve of the Earth. So is that what you think? You think we never see the actual geometric horizon?
We see it from satellites. You just claim it's CGI. With no evidence.
See it from the Earth, though.
Yeah, you can see it from the Earth, but it might be a little bit bigger because of refraction, which does happen.
So then we don't ever see the actual position of Earth curve.
And might I say, no consensus in any expertise field, no expertise in the visual effects field or in any physical field within the.
You are a textbook sophist.
Okay, continuing. No physicist that is writing papers, and when we ask them to present papers, they say, well, they won't accept our papers.
Okay, so Taylor, what I asked you was, are you saying that we can never see the actual Earth curve? Like we can never see the actual position of the real Earth curve on the ground?
That doesn't mean anything.
I'm asking you, is that what you're saying?
I can't answer that because that doesn't mean anything.
Do we see the actual position of the Earth curvature on the ground ever?
Like the horizon?
The actual curvature of the
position of the Earth curvature, that doesn't mean anything.
The actual position as opposed to an apparent position or location, it literally does mean something. So what are you
Curvature
talking about?
Isn't a position, it's not a point.
Okay, there's a geometric location relative to the observer's height. Yes, it is. You have a tangent point. So I'm sorry you don't understand things, but you literally do have a tangent point. It's called a geometric
location. That's not a curve.
It's called
you don't understand mathematics.
It's called a geometric horizon. So that's the curve of the Earth. You would see a bulge or what you call a geometric horizon. Your claim is that we never see the actual geometric horizon or curve of the Earth, that we always see an apparent horizon from the ground.
You can see the horizon from the ground. What is your point?
Is the horizon we see the actual curve of the Earth, or is it an apparent refracted horizon?
It's the actual curve.
But so you just now said that when we saw the mountains, the reason that we didn't see the curve is because it was refracted. Or what about when the horizon moves back and forth? It can't be the actual curve because it's moving back and forth. I mean, the Earth's not breathing in and out. So
it is the actual curve.
So why is it going back and forth?
It can appear distorted. Is that what you're asking about?
So
why does it appear distorted?
Well, no, it's just we never see the actual position or location of the Earth curve. Like it moves around optically based on the atmos. It's because of refraction. That's what your position says. Your position says that we never see the actual geometric horizon because we always have refraction within the atmosphere. So it constantly moves it around. The horizon we see is an apparent location, right? And that the actual location is never seen. But the question then is, and that is your position. I'm not strawmanning, I still manned it to help you out. So the question is, then how do we know it's there? If we've never seen the actual position of the Earth curvature, we can never see the actual Earth curve. How do we know it's there?
Because it can't curve on a flat surface. The light cannot refract like that on a flat surface.
When you say,
So
why do
yeah,
you say that?
the curve looks a little bit bigger sometimes. Can't do that on a flat surface though.
You're saying there'd be no horizon on a flat Earth?
So
Well, it would be above it.
The horizon is always, what are you talking about? The horizon rises optically up and down above you. What are you talking about?
I explained this in the opening. So like flat geometric straight
refraction
perspective
makes you see
will
farther.
converge at a certain point on a horizon. When you actually compare that with actual photos of, for example, Lake Pontchartrain, you can try and line that up with geometric perspective. And the horizon is always lower because it's curving down. Because on a flat plane, it would just keep going.
No, on a flat plane, actually, the horizon would also be below you because you're going up above the Earth. So it would rise towards eye level, but it'd still be below. It's an apparent location that fluctuates based on optics, like atmospheric or Atmos location or conditions. So you would have a horizon on a flat Earth, right? You have a vanishing point. You can't see forever, and it constantly changes. And on a flat Earth, that's what would happen. The globe Earth claims the Earth physically blocks our view, yet it constantly moves around and is never where it's supposed to be, and we see way too far. So and I'm not sure what you're trying to say. If you're claiming that there'd be no horizon on a flat Earth, I mean, yikes.
What I'm talking about is, if you've been taught to draw in school, right? You draw a building.
Perspective.
Right.
You draw a flat
the
line,
lines, converges with the horizon.
all straight lines.
Right. That's what you'd expect on a flat Earth. On a globe Earth, they curve and it ends before the actual geometric horizon on a flat Earth. That's observed reality.
Observed reality is what? That the horizon constantly moves back and forth, and it's sometimes below our eyes because we rise above the surface of the optical convergence or vanishing point. That doesn't prove that the Earth is curving. I just addressed all of that.
Well, you can't get that effect on a flat Earth.
That just proves that we have a dynamic atmos that changes from day to day. Your visibility changes. Doesn't have anything to do with Earth curvature.
Yeah.
It does, though.
You're just
because
saying
structures are built over it.
What?
Structures are built over curves. Like
structures are built
Lake Pontchartrain.
Lake Pontchartrain.
I'm talking about the bridge.
Is built over
which
a curve.
curves.
Okay, but do you not think that you can build a curved bridge? It doesn't curve with the Earth. The design of the bridge is curved way different than the rate of curvature of the Earth, bro.
You don't think that they make the bridge go up so maybe boats can go under it at some point and then it can go back down to the land? Like,
yeah, and it just increases structural integrity. My goodness.
It doesn't go straight into the ground, and yet that's what it looks like if you're on one side of it, which is only possible if it's curved.
No, it constantly fluctuates how far you can see. That's the horizon is just an apparent location. It's an optical illusion. Like the ground doesn't literally merge with the sky. That's ridiculous, right? So it's an optical illusion. It moves back and forth based on the atmosphere. The globe Earth claims that there's an actual curve blocking us and that it moves back and forth. But trust me, somewhere within there, it's a real curve. That's just objectively what it is. So the question is, why do we never see the real curve? The answer is because there's always an atmosphere. Fair enough. To be fair, it's like, okay, fair enough. Then how do we know it's there then? That's the question.
On a flat surface, in order to get refraction, you would need air density like this. Air density increasing diagonally. That's not reality.
Why?
That's how refraction works.
What? We don't need What are you talking about? Refraction fluctuates constantly. It's a flat surface.
You're saying there's
that
only
optically
one
rises.
direction that light can refract in? You think that light only reflects in one direction?
If
you know how
have
refraction
air
works?
density, yeah. If you have, it has
How does
to
it work?
hit air of different density.
Right.
It
Which way
bends
does the
toward
light go?
bends toward the normal line.
The normal line?
No,
No.
it doesn't. What's the normal line? What does that mean? It bends towards the normal line. What's the normal line? Where does the normal line
Parallel.
start?
Bro, you're saying refraction couldn't happen
Perpendicular.
if the Earth was flat?
Perpendicular.
When it hits
To what?
something, it bends towards this perpendicular normal line. So
Just because you say so.
when you have, yeah, because I say so. So
Okay,
I've
it's
met
called
the
Snell's
amount of
law.
I've met the amount of evidence that you've brought because I said so and my buddy said so. So I guess we're even now.
No, we physically, everyone in
Anyway.
the room can go physically measure and falsify the claimed Earth at the Earth curvature. You've just appealed to cartoons and stuff like that, but it's called Snell's law, which is that light will bend toward the denser medium. Of course, assuming light rays and that light physically travels from point A to point B and refine the photon, but that's a total aside. So we'll just give you all that. I digress. So anyway, it goes towards a more
with
dense
that
medium.
word
It goes towards a
salad.
more that wasn't word salad. It goes more towards a more dense medium, right? And
Yeah.
so that's cool. Whatever. We have to use a differential equation though. We can't use Snell's law for the atmosphere. We have to use something even the differential equation doesn't work for Snell's law. It's a totally different type of refraction. Nevertheless, it's a mathematical construct. Has nothing to do with what you're talking about. That when we explain it on a globe, we use 7/6R, an average based on assuming the R value. So the fact that you think that somehow we wouldn't have a horizon on a flat Earth or it wouldn't move around due to refraction on a flat Earth is just patently absurd and wrong and objectively not correct in any way. I'm sorry.
Amy, I guess math doesn't work because Austin said so.
In
Light
fact,
bends towards
speaking
the
of
denser
math,
medium.
and
I-
speaking of light,
my
can
mind
I
is
ask
blown.
you guys
Wow.
what if you have done the shadow experiments that they've been doing for thousands of years, that Eratosthenes and
That literally
Aristotle
proves
were able to do?
nothing. Even Neil
Yeah.
deGrasse Tyson says it can be duplicated with a small local light
So
over a
that's
flat surface.
So that's a no.
You can do it with a flat surface and a small local light.
Yeah.
So that
it
should
can
be easily
replicated two different
confirmable.
ways.
That's a no.
That could be easily confirmable. How's your research going to go visit the small local sun?
To go visit the small local sun.
Yeah,
Your guys' questions are
these
just-
effects.
Why do you
right,
think that
because you
anybody
can't
can
because
visit
you'll
the sun?
never
I don't
do the
even claim
research.
that anybody can visit the sun. I never
Because
claimed
you'll
anybody
never do
can
the
visit
research.
the sun.
We have done the
What
research.
do you
just
mean? I've
claimed-
been
Hey,
researching
hey,
for 7
Taylor.
years. How? Okay, let me ask
Let
you
me
this, Taylor.
explain.
How
Let me
did they
explain.
find out? How did they
If-
find
if
out
I
the
could
distance of the
explain.
sun? How was the distance of the sun measured?
I have no idea. I care about gravity.
No, because you didn't do the research. That's why.
You said you cared about
They-
gravity.
Right,
I gave
I
you
didn't.
10 opportunities to provide
So-
proof
Ladies
for
and
gravity.
gentlemen, take note there.
it's all based
That
on
Taylor
assumptions. By
said,
the way,
"I don't
I'll
know"
give you a
to
big
a
hint.
question.
They never
which
actually
is-
physically measured it. It's all based on assumptions.
Why does
But
Karen B have to
take
teach
note
you
there
guys your
how
Good for you.
weird?
skeptical Karen B was, that she almost tried to make fun of Taylor for saying, "I don't know," when that's the correct answer. But that's
It's
okay,
not the correct,
because
but there is an
as
answer.
More
skeptic-
sophistry.
There
More
is an
sophistry.
answer, though.
there is an answer. So why are you making fun of Taylor for not knowing the answer and saying,
I'm not making
know.
fun of Taylor because he just said, "Well, you didn't do the
Well, you
research."
said
And then
that.
I asked him a
That's-
question. He says, "Well, I don't know." And I said, "Well, it's because you didn't do the research."
Once
Yeah,
again,
Listen,
that's
you know, you sit
sophistry.
there and
because he just answered like question after question after question after question, and then after you finally hit a
I mean, he
thing where he
answered it. He
said,
didn't
"I
give
don't
satisfactory
know," you're
answers,
like,
This is all a
whatever.
waste of time and
This might
sophistry,
be-
Amy.
It is.
Okay, that's
You
cool.
said-
Time to go
That-
into the Q&A.
"Oh,
Any
You
concluding thoughts? If we give everybody
have-
1 or 2 minutes, we can give you a chance to wrap up if
Yeah.
you want to draw together some
Sure.
of the threads from the discussion. Otherwise, you don't have to. If you want to say I'll defer, you can pass on that. We're going to start with go left to right. Witsit gets it. If you want to go first, the floor is all yours.
Yeah, sure. So, like we were talking about, gravity has never actually been proven in Cavendish. You can't account for the variable of electrostatics. It's always there. So electrostatics is a small, weak force, and it's not strong enough to explain gravity. So although that's all we can prove, they have to claim gravity. So currently it's called the theory of relativity, and everything hinges upon this idea that light has a constant speed in 1905 to 1915, blah, blah, blah. It's general relativity, and it's admittedly doesn't work. We have dark energy, dark matter. We discovered in the 30s that the galaxies only had 3% of the mass that the relativity would predict. The universe needs to expand 10 times faster. We're off by 10 to the 120th power. Some people guess a little bit smaller than that. So we have dark matter and dark energy that makes up 96% of everything that relativity doesn't predict or cannot explain. In addition, when we take the theory of relativity or gravity, it doesn't work on the quantum scale. It doesn't affect anything. It's not seen anywhere, and it can't be discovered or explained. So the theory of relativity doesn't work at all. The problem is there used to be something called the ether in the background. It was thrown out for Michelson Morley because it showed the Earth isn't moving. which in the conclusion, that's the truth, that we can physically measure the surface of the earth. It's not curving like they said that it is. And there's no evidence that the earth is moving. And in fact, it's a philosophical decision to pretend that it is. And even Einstein, Stephen Hawking, and Edwin Hubble will all tell you can't prove that the earth is moving. It's a philosophical decision because we don't want to think that the earth is special. So there you go. There's a summary. There's no physical empirical evidence of any of their claims. It's just sophistry and appeal to consensus and majority.
You got it. Karen?
Yeah, what's it said?
You got it.
That, and I measured earth curvature. I measured for earth curvature myself. I've seen it with my own eyes. So I suggest that what you do is you go get a laser, you go get somebody else to help you out and go do those long distance observations yourself. And then you decide whether or not you're seeing light bend around the curve. And also maybe you should study refraction and know that light does bend towards a denser medium and that you get different densities depending on the temperature of the water versus the air above it. If the water is cooler than the air temperature above the water, or the air temperature is cooler than the temperature of the water, you're going to get different light bending in all kinds of different ways. So remember that next time. And Earth is flat.
You got it, Amy?
Thank you so very much. The earth is round. We have known this for thousands of years. I wish I could even pin this solely on religion, but Christian medieval theologians knew and recorded that the earth was spherical and kept it going all the way up until the Enlightenment. So we have known that the earth is round. We have been able to prove it through not only natural philosophy, but through science. Scientists have known that the world is round through empirical means. We have not only video evidence, but multiple ways that you can do the experiments yourself. I do want to thank Taylor for being my debate partner. Witsit and Karen, as spicy as I've been, I really do love everyone. So sending love to them. And of course, James, for being an awesome mod. And if you guys haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, then what are you doing?
Appreciate that. And it is true, folks. I would say this. If you thought your side was more persuasive, and don't worry, Tyler, we're going to give you a chance to speak, forgive me, Taylor, but I want to say, folks, if you thought your side was more persuasive tonight, you're like, you know what, I think they were. A great way for more people to see this video is that you hit like, for real, because if you hit like, that boosts it in the algorithm, meaning that YouTube will recommend this video to more people. So if you haven't yet, hit that like button. We have 646 watching live. We're at about 200 likes. We can easily get to 250. With that, Taylor, go ahead with your closing as well.
All right. So number one, what we were talking about in the closing, so you said that the effect of different shadows of different lengths can be achieved by a small and local sun. So I asked you, can you show that there's a small and local sun? That should be pretty easy to research. And then we had a bit of a meltdown there, which is what would happen if there was a small and local sun. I believe it's my closing statement. Yeah. So you guys had a very robust disagreement with the fact that I asked you, where's the small and local sun then? Because this is your rescue device for this effect. And it should be easy to go discover. Anyway, measuring the earth yourself, you've given me no reason to believe that your measurements are good or correct. I have no way to tell you from a wingnut if you're correct. And
oh boy,
I have no way to do that. No method. And speaking of working methods, we'll get to that. But yeah. You measured some flatness. Other experts have measured curves, and we can look at them. So Austin said that we can't account for electrostatics in the Cavendish experiment, except you can, because you can use materials of differing electrostatic strength, and you get the same effect, showing that the effect is mass. That's what a variable is for, Austin. Also, it doesn't matter. The only thing that really matters for my whole argument was the direction of the acceleration. So if there's an electrostatic acceleration, attraction force, whatever you want to call it, it's working on air. You claim sometimes it just works on air, sometimes it just turns off and doesn't work on air, except all the air is accumulating down because it's moving downward, because it has a force downward, an acceleration downward. If it just kept going upward, it would accumulate at the dome. That doesn't happen because it's denser at the ground. And this is why working models are important, because you can't navigate on a flat Earth map, and you've presented no working models.
And with that, we're going to jump into the Q&A. I want to say thanks so much for your support. We already crushed it with 250 likes. Thanks for that support. If you haven't yet, as I mentioned, many more juicy debates coming up before we jump into these questions. For example, as I mentioned, the bottom right of your screen, King Crocoduck returns, taking on David McQueen in a debate on creation versus evolution. You don't want to miss it. Hit that subscribe button as we have many more debates to come. This first question coming in from, do appreciate it, and I'm going to move through as fast as I possibly can. Folks, there are some that I'm going to skip. If you are insulting a guest, that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for substantive questions, as many as we can get. This one coming in from Theo Megawordy says, let's see. In another universe, the Globers were on time. Haha. Just a little jest because we started late. David Benscombe, Ben Cosme, thanks for your being with us, says, James is ripped. Okay, thanks for that. Space Audits with Alan says, there's no way to verify images from so-called satellites. Even if you compile the raw data, the metadata from it is already removed. I think they're saying that the alleged pictures from satellites are not real, Amy and Taylor. I think they're saying that.
Can you ask that question one more time?
They said there's no way to verify images from so-called satellites. Even if you compile the raw data, the metadata from it is already removed.
Once again, that just sounds like a conspiracy. It's the main shtick of a conspiracy theorist. Did you get that data yourself? Did you do that test? Because what they're saying is, we don't trust scientists. We don't trust scientific consensus. It is a Fox version of being a contrarian. And so can you give us a reason for why we should distrust NASA and other agencies? NASA, I know they hate it, and we get paid by them and George Soros, but they're actually a fairly well-liked government agency because they keep their butts as unpolitical as possible. They are just trying to do good things. And for hell, for all much I'll hate Trumpy Stan, he put up Space Force.
We've got a lot of questions.
Support it. They're doing good work. Mwah.
This one from Brandon Connell says, for the Flat Earth gas, how do you explain the difference in weight between the North Pole and equator? Globe Earth / gravity predicts it? ? Amy and Snake, y'all are awesome.
Ooh, that's a good question. So Einstein himself, which most of the Globers don't know this, Einstein himself said in a letter in 1913 to Ernst Mach that if the Earth was at rest but the sky was moving around it, there would be a translation of centrifugal force. So you would get the same effect that drags the pendulum around or cause precession in the gyroscope. And that would also affect weight distribution measurements, meaning that the actual weight that's measured would be affected by the centrifugal force and the transition of the system from the moving sky around the Earth at rest frame reference. And that is Albert Einstein himself. But just the mainstream Google won't tell you that. So yeah, since the sky is moving around the Earth, then you would actually have centrifugal distribution within a toroid vortex, and it would change the weight distribution.
You got
Sounds windy.
This one from Theo Megawordy says graphic designer equals globe Earth expert. I don't know what that is referring to.
You heard it there, folks. Not taking part. So let me tell you though, before I only put an asterisk on it. Because she's probably an amazing graphic designer, and a graphic design is an amazing degree. But once again, it's like when creationists like putting physicists attack biologists and biologists attack physicists, because if you get someone in their own field, it seems that they don't have consensus. And so, yes, I would love to see someone in the post-production industry present some sort of methodology that we can take to show that it's CGI. You can't just claim it's CGI or visual effects because your gut tells you. Like
that's what they say it is. That's what they say it is.
They tell you it is, right? Correct.
This one coming in from
NASA.
The Bat
Jinx.
The Batman says, Amy and Taylor about to get flat smacked. Brandon Cornell says, to use the Bible as proof of flat earth, don't you first have to show the Bible is actually correct? Although I don't know if either of you, if that came up per se.
No,
Cameron,
no one does that. That's a straw man to try to dismiss us. Yeah, it's just a straw man.
Cameron Hall says, if Earth was flat, wouldn't you be able to see Europe from America using a telescope? Also, why can't flat earthers just go to the International Space Station and show us a picture?
Okay. There's angular size change with distance or angular resolution limit and something called the attenuation of light. So no, you wouldn't be able to see forever. You have an optical vanishing point. Why can't we go to the ISS and take a picture? That's the question. I mean, what kind of insane, absurd, ridiculous question is that? I don't even know.
You got this one coming in from Lunatic Thinker says, we have mapped the position of stars in the night sky. Why does the night sky spin counterclockwise when observed from a northern position, clockwise, though, from a southern position, and goes from east to west at the equator?
I just explained that there'd be an
all
optical
stars
effect.
rise in the east and set in the west.
Yeah. And there would be an optical effect of containment, and it could be magnetic holography, and we can show that a magnetic field would do the same thing. So there's a plethora of options, but literally just a little paperweight will show you that there could be an optical effect that make it happen when you look up. So
You're just looking, it depends on which way you're looking at it from.
The Wicker Man, thanks so much for your super chat. If you had a question to attach to it, let me know in the live chat. Brandon Connell says, for the Flat Earthers, get your pilot's license and go. It's not illegal. You just need international flying clearance, and planes aren't that expensive to rent for a day.
it is
Okay,
illegal.
money bags.
It's
You got
illegal to
like
commercial.
500,000 laying around to charter a jet? Okay.
And that's a lie anyway. You can't fly planes over Antarctica. It's illegal. You can't do that. They say it's too dangerous.
It is a lie.
Yeah,
This-
it's
The
blatant
pilot
lies.
offered this.
Yo, really? Then we actually
Yeah,
contacted
then we
him.
held him
and
to
then
it, and then he backed off because
Yeah, and
he
he
realized
lied
he couldn't do it.
he wouldn't even
He
tell us his
snuck-
company.
Snuck away back into his corner.
Yeah, he just did it so you could say stuff like that. You guys could just
Exactly.
say things. Yeah, and we called his
Yeah,
bluff.
The
I
pilot said he
definitely
would do
trust
it.
your
Okay.
account.
Okay, we have the
Go ask
documentation of
him.
it. So whatever.
Yeah.
I totally trust your account.
We have the
Go ask him.
documentation.
You don't have to trust us. You can actually go find that out on your own.
Yeah, we have the receipts.
Mhm.
Have fun.
This one from Psychor says, Lake Michigan is so big that you cannot see the opposite shore even on a clear day. It's from the curvature of the earth. Team Flat, can you refute this?
Lake
What lake?
Michigan. You think Lake Michigan helps globe Earth? We can see the Chicago skyline across Lake Michigan from up to 60 miles on clear days.
Yeah,
I
from
talked to
across-
locals there.
Yeah, I think what was it? St. Joseph, I think, Illinois, or someplace. I can't
You can
remember what it is.
You can see it always. Like I talked to all the
Yeah.
locals there. They said you can see it 2 to 3 times a week. So no, you wouldn't be able to see forever over a flat Earth. It's not
Yeah,
complicated.
things get smaller. Remember, like Sesame Street, near, far. Remember that?
This one from David Ben Cosme says, Brandon, look up Antarctic Treaty. Who's Brandon? All right. Say, look up Antarctic Treaty. Does anybody know what that refers to? Not the
Yeah.
Brandon part, the Antarctic Treaty.
Yeah, they were just trying to deny that it exists, and you can look it up, and you can look up all the legislation since then. And objectively, you can't freely and privately explore there.
Brandon Connell.
I brought it up. I brought it up because I do say it exists because the military is banned due to the Antarctic Treaty.
Yeah, so are humans
Oops.
freely and privately exploring.
And people aren't putting their houses there. No country has been able to expand, like to settle, but that you can still go there. As a scientist, as a private individual, they will say, oh, you need to get permission from the government, and then you're back at they. But, you can go there.
You can only go where they allow you. They don't let you go all the way across it.
Hey, spooky.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? You just have so.
We never said you can't go to Antarctica.
This one from Brandon
You
Connell
just can't go do whatever you want there.
Brandon Connell says, what is the name of the law stopping anyone from going there?
The Antarctic Treaty.
Gotcha.
There's additional laws in the United States since then that are subsequent, like legislation underneath that are very specific with the laws and the rules.
Oh, I just realized that David Benz Cosme was saying to Brandon, who asked that question, that they should look up the Antarctic Treaty. Okay, I'm sorry, you guys. I'm a little bit dense. This one from Brandon Connell says, show the sun section, paragraph, and line.
I don't know what you're talking about, but we did take azimuth and azimuth like longitudinal readings over a year, and it shows that the sun seemingly is a magnetic holography that acts as a toroid. So pretty interesting. So when he said, look for where's your like local sun, like, yeah, we did azimuth distance readings, and we showed that it's like a toroid type projection.
Mm-hmm.
You got it. And want to remind you folks, our guests, don't worry, we have more questions, but I want to say this because you're all here. Our guests are linked in the description. So since you just got your potentially first exposure to them, hey, you can learn more about their views by clicking on their links below. What are you waiting for? Widget Gets It, Karen B, Amy, and Taylor are all linked in the description box. And that includes, if you're listening via the Modern Day Debate podcast, you can find our guest links there as well. This one from Tim Pryor says, if you admit people can go to Antarctica, then you can't deny them witnessing the 24-hour sun you guys say doesn't exist there.
Again, she told you that the guy that worked for NASA that was stationed in Antarctica said he never saw a 24-hour sun. You just see the sunlight. The only supposed footage of it is provably photoshopped and chopped together. So that's kind of sketchy. We have 1 million shots of it in the north, none of the south. So yeah, it doesn't exist. Sunlight and sun itself is not the same thing.
You got it. Theo Mega Wordy says the Himawari 8 is a compilation of weather data from international systems with extrapolation overlaid on the blue marble data set. It is photoshopped.
There you go.
According to what?
This one.
You're asking someone that can't answer the question.
Because I looked up the Himawari data.
Did you extrapolate the metadata? You got access to it?
No.
Yeah, you can't. It doesn't let you.
You got it, and this one coming in
And
from
so that doesn't mean it can't be or that it's faked.
Tim
It's like
Pryor
over blue
says,
marble.
have you guys ever got a photo analyst to prove that every picture of Earth is fake? Have you done that? Have you?
Don't have to. They admit that it's composite images. They take high altitude footage and then they put it together, stitch it together over a flat map surface, wrap it around a ball, bring an artist in to do an rendition. I don't know why we'd have to have someone prove it when they openly admit that that is CGI and it's not actual full pictures.
This one from Tim Pryor as well. So sorry, but you guys are going against every scientist and billions of people. Burden of proof is always on you. This is why you guys are not persuading me. They said, this is long. They said, guaranteed you're lying. You did not talk to a physicist who thinks the world is fine.
Flat.
I think they meant flat. Physics alone says that's impossible, and all physicists agree with gravity. You have to lie or be lying right now. I'll give you a chance to respond to that long.
Yeah. See, this is just a tactic, right? It's baselessly asserting it because like they have the confidence of having all the people on their side, but they don't know anything about it. I literally did just now talk to a physicist the other day. All quantum physicists will tell you relativity does not work on the quantum scale at all whatsoever. They're trying to find something called the graviton. It also doesn't work on the cosmological scale. No one is lying. Not all scientists believe anything. Physics is based on the relativistic application, and that's proven to be incorrect on the quantum scale. That's why they're looking for a GUT, which is a new grand unified theory to replace it, because everyone knows that it doesn't work. So just the truth of the matter is tons of physicists actually do know there's something going on with this whole gravity and this Earth spinning around the sun thing, because they're trying to reintroduce the ether, which would make it stationary. So yeah, there's a lot of people that think different things.
Just want to point out that the general theory of relativity and special relativity right now are, as far as we can tell, non-dispute. No one is writing papers against them. I don't know where he's getting this from. And the trying to figure out how to tie something big with something small is the theory of everything, or at least that's what its PR term is called. And that's just trying to tie quantum mechanics and general relativity together because we know both are facts.
And they don't work together. You're getting there. So you just said no one says that. It was my super chat. I'm finishing the response. And the response to you just blatantly lying is that actually it's known that relativity doesn't work with quantum. So they're looking for a new model. It's admittedly doesn't work on the quantum scale at all. And this is just subjective.
This one coming in from Enslaved by Truth says God hates spheres. This one from
True.
I didn't know either. Godzilla 37 says, strange clouds has smoked too much. Globe's a fairy tale, fool. Who's Strange Clouds? Sir
No idea.
Corduroy says changing mass changes the degree of warp.
Okay, yeah, that's a reification fallacy, though. Like the question is, does the mass actually warp space-time, right? And so if you just like, look, I changed the mass, therefore I proved that space-time bend and warp. Well, that's just begging the question, which is why it's well known that relativity could entirely be wrong, and quantum has actually shown that. And he said that you can control for the electrostatics in the Cavendish, but that's not true. The best Faraday cage in the world still has electrostatics. If you ground it, it's still electrostatic. The air inside of the chamber is electrostatic. The balls are electrostatic. The torsion cables and the rods are electrostatic, and it barely moves at all, if any. So yeah, electrostatics is clearly the most strong variable there, and you can't eliminate it. And this is objective. All molecular and intermolecular attractive forces are electrostatic in nature.
This one from Psychor says, straw man, non sequitur, straw man, straw man, straw man. They didn't say who it was for, though. This one from Down in the Rabbit Hole, good to see you, hope you're well, says, we found a NASA FTP server which has all the let me know if I mispronounce this, Himawari 8 raw images. They wrap flat radar images over the blue marble sphere. The video is on the Flat Earth Clock app under, quote, satellites on the FAQ page.
Yes.
Taylor?
Once again, if you are taking multiple pictures and they are accurate pictures of the world, then I don't know what to say. It's not CGI.
His claim was that it was a real picture, okay, and that it was a single picture that wasn't composite. He just told you can go look it up, that you can look into the data. It's actually not real pictures, and it's wrapped around a presupposed ball. They don't take a picture of a ball from space, admittedly and provably.
What it sounds like you're saying is at a certain point, like on the Google question that I see coming, that certain companies, when it goes so big and you can't have a single picture, have to go picture, 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 picture. So that's what a composite is. It doesn't mean that the Earth is flat. And I once again would like for an actual picture of the flat Earth. Like what they're saying is, what the flat Earth they're saying is, well, it's not a full picture of the round Earth, is it? And then we go, no, that's not how they're trying to put it together. And we say, do you have a single picture of the flat Earth? And then all of a sudden, well, they won't let me here. They won't let you go there. All the secrets that... For some reason, it's a dome that we have no evidence of, that we can't get to. So I guess my only question would be, why is there no actual pictures of the flat Earth?
Why are you such a sophist?
Okay, if you don't have an answer, just say I don't know.
That you can't get outside of the Earth. It's stupid. It's a stupid question. We can't get outside of the Earth.
So if we can just compile things from the ground, then there's no reason to have a satellite looking at it from down. There's color correction, and there's overlays on the website that you can turn off. But there's no point in having a satellite if you're just taking all the data from the ground and just put it together.
This one coming in from Hates Stare says, Taylor and Amy, you look hungry. It's like, I don't know. This I don't understand that one.
Sponsored by Snickers.
This one says Snickers. Space Audits with Alan says, if in Einstein's field equations, he uses variables that describe a completely empty universe with bent spacetime. You don't even know your own religion.
It doesn't matter. People don't know everything about gravity. Therefore, gravity doesn't exist. No, you literally said it's not gravity. You said it's that's what you said. Anyway, like I said, it doesn't matter what the actual cause. Why does gravity exist? Why does it work? It only matters how it works and basically what direction it works in, which, if you want to call it electrostatic, doesn't matter. It's all still moving in the same direction. So it doesn't need a dome.
This one
Oh,
coming
I
in.
also just want to. I just want to point out. I want to appreciate once again a negative take on religion. I want to keep on saying that word should be used negatively, and I am still waiting for an actual model to come to our side. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just come some sort of flat Earth model?
This
We
one
get it. You're
from-
scared of the creator, and I have a flat Earth model. It's my
There
wife.
we go. The create. You couldn't have said a
Tim
better word. That
Pryor
makes
says,
me happy as a
Flat
plum.
earthers talk about logic. What's more logical? That flat earthers are smarter than billions, or they watch some YouTube video and are just being duped?
Cameron, you got it. I mean, build a consensus.
Yeah,
Joshua
whatever.
Kelly says, Amy, actual science can be done without papers.
Well, so science isn't a body of knowledge, it's a process, and the process would be doing a hypothesis, going out there in the field, collecting data, having results, and publishing that methodology so that other people can do it. Because that's the difference between all of the religious views, superstition, doesn't matter. If we were to restart the clock, all of this nonsense would go away. But if we were to delete every science textbook right now, each and every fact would be rediscovered.
You got it,
If you could do the science, if you could do the science, you could publish papers.
Yeah, but it won't get actually peer reviewed and published by mainstream academia if it doesn't walk the line. Everyone knows this, so you guys are just chanting.
Nope, scientists disagree with each other all the time. They fight a lot. If you actually read any science, you'd know that.
I read way more
They
than you
do,
ever
but
have.
only the ones who push the narrative that they want to be pushed get published, though.
Except they challenge each other's narratives. So you just didn't listen to what I said and
But
just
not with
repeated
this
your
specific
accusation.
thing. No one questions like the Earth. You're not allowed to talk about whether or not the Earth is flat or whether or not the
No.
Earth
Yeah,
is
you are.
not moving. No, you're not. Everyone
Not in
knows
mainstream
it. So
science.
come on, man. It's just
So
like
one of
weird
the-
that you guys have to lie so much. We should just move on. The audience can tell you guys are lying.
We've got a
One
lot of
of the
questions, so I'm
biggest
going to move
deniers-
forward.
okay.
Tim Pryor says, well, to be fair, Amy, when flat earthers did do experiments, they proved rotation and curve. Thanks, Bob. Interesting Jeranism. Notice how after that, all flat earthers stopped doing actual experiments.
We literally do.
That's not true.
Yeah, we do experiments all the time.
All the time.
And then just like Taylor did, he lied about what happened with that too. It's just a bunch of lies. But so Jaron actually had to hold it up a little bit, but it showed that it was right in between the globe prediction and the flat prediction. It was actually closer to the flat prediction. But since it was like in the middle, Jaron was like, interesting. So they chopped it up and lied. And yeah, we found 15-degree precession, which is the Sagnac effect. The person that discovered the Sagnac says the vortex in the ether, the gyro, the ringleader gyro is literally engineered and calibrated with the Sagnac effect. He took it to a different altitude at the same latitude and got over a degree in variance, showing that it's not the Earth spinning at the same latitude. It's based on the vortex of the ether that changes at altitude. So this is awkward.
But not only do I agree with the questioner's take, but just like the earlier question was bringing up Einstein, first of all, you could take your choice if you want to be on Team Einstein or Team Conspiracy Theory. But Einstein did not like quantum mechanics. He was one of the people who hated it the most. And what he did was test it and test it and test it and test it and test it. And begrudgingly, Einstein had to accept quantum mechanics because of the peer review process. That is how strong that it is.
You're just reading. You don't even know why he didn't like quantum. It's because of spooky action at a distance and superposition isn't consistent with relativity. I read both of his letters where he talks about it, so we should.
But
just
he got
probably
over
move
it
on.
'cause
You
of
guys are
science,
just pretending
right?
to know things that you don't know.
Because the
He
peer
knows that
review
it doesn't.
process.
It's
11,
contradictory to
11.
relativity because if there's superposition, then the bending and warping of space-time would be in all kinds of different positions simultaneously, and that's one of the many problems. You don't know any of it. It also disputes the constant speed of light. We can just move on.
This one coming in from, want to remind you folks, if you've enjoyed this debate, if you're like, hey, I like this is fun, hit that share button. Right now, you can click share and share it into group threads or Facebook groups, Discord groups, Twitter threads, you name it. Even over a text message, you can send the link to a friend if you think they'd enjoy this type of debate, as we are striving to provide a neutral platform to let the chips fall where they may, to let 1,000 flowers bloom so that the cream will rise to the top for the best arguments. Delco says, my dad went as part of a private research group and even had their own transport. Please explain why he lied for years. I think they mean went to Antarctic. Said, no dodging, please.
No one said that he lied. He had to get approved before his private group went. The point is that you can't privately and freely go wherever you want to go. You have to get approved by the government that you are in the country of. It's just objective. It's weird. You guys got to spin it and lie about what we're actually saying. That's called being dishonest.
Mm-hmm.
But you can go.
Question the answer says, I'd just like to second what Down in the Rabbit Hole said. That is true. Delco strikes again, says, why do our industrial robots need to account for gravitational pull when using a very small and effector next to something with a few microns small?
Doesn't count for gravity's pull. It accounts with an accelerometer of downward acceleration that you actually get precise measurements with interferometry. That's all that you're doing. You're not actually bending and warping space-time, and everything's intrinsically electrostatic, which gives you an attractive force. And so again, it's nothing more than downward acceleration using the accelerometers, and you're begging the question, which has been debunked within your own paradigm for like the 20th time tonight.
This one from Tim Pryor says, flat earthers did not come up with science. Nobody that actually does science agrees with them. They should not be allowed to even say the word science.
You got it, Karen. You got it. You got the questions that are just, I think you're a better diplomat than me.
What did he say again?
You're not even allowed to use the word science because flat earthers deny science, so they shouldn't even use the word.
Flat earthers deny science. That's why we go out and actually do measurements and actually try to debunk flat earth. That's why we did that. You guys think we all just came here just believing it? We try to debunk it. I was fine living on a globe. We're all fine living on a globe until the problem is where we find out it's a lie. That's where the problem is. The problem is not with the globe itself. The problem is with the lying. I don't think you guys get that.
This one coming in from You Appreciate Your Question. AstroNut66 says, to Witsit, if the Earth were flat, there would be 108.47 miles per 1 degree of longitude at the equator, but we measure 69.17 miles per 1 degree. Why?
You're talking about celestial navigation, looking at the stars, and then you get 69 miles per degree. So what you're talking about is actually it's optical declination. They take the optical declination of the sky relative to the observer's angle and the position on the Earth, and they apply that optical declination to a presupposed convexity of terra firma itself. So pretty simple.
This one coming in from Do Appreciate Your Question. The Sleeper 7 says, to Team Cartoon Ball, you don't look at the ceiling to measure the floor. Cheers.
So I assume that's a pot shot at the star spinning, and you can understand the shape of something you're on based on how things move around. So, yeah, I guess we can move on.
So when you're on a basketball court and the players are throwing the ball around, that means that the court that you're standing on is round because there's a ball going around you?
If they're doing something that's impossible to witness from a flat surface, then yeah.
This one from Tim Pryor says, but the air is thinner at the top of Mount Everest, so no, it does not feel the empty space. You guys have yet to explain that.
That's for the Glovers.
I think that was for Karen B. and Witsit. They said, but the air is thinner at the top of Mount Everest, so no, it does not feel the empty space. I think they mean fill. You guys have yet to explain that.
Okay, what do you mean? What does that mean to explain that? So we have a pressure gradient. There's an electrical gradient on the Earth. Most of the gas is constantly introduced at the surface. And so based on temperature, production, and introduction of gas at the surface, and an electric gradient, which is 100 volts per meter, then we have a gradient in the Earth. And that's antecedent to gas pressure is physical container. And that's what keeps the closed dynamic system intact, wherein which you can have the electric gradient. So that's all that there is to it. The fact that Mount Everest has lower gas pressure is a non sequitur to my actual position or our actual position. The point is that the gas would violently fill the available space if it wasn't for the closed dynamic system giving you the pressure with a gradient determined by the variance of factors that I listed.
Tim Pryor.
So there's a non-physical container towards the ground. Interesting.
In case it was, gravity is why that it gets thinner as we go up and the air gets lighter.
Begging the question, fallacy.
It would accumulate.
You're crushing.
It would accumulate at the top if there wasn't something pulling it down.
This one
Okay,
from
you guys don't listen, so we'll move on.
Tim Pryor says, better question, if you guys do not believe in space, then why do you believe there has to be a container?
Well, that's a good question, right? So no telling. There's no telling exactly what's up there. Fluid-like medium. It seems like it could be super fluid and then a super solid, maybe even potentially semi-permeable. But what we're saying is, for sure, you definitely couldn't have any vacuum without a container. Now, yeah, we don't believe in the vacuum because actually redshift, blue shift, all observations, cosmic microwave background, energy distribution relative to the center of the Earth, or the Earth as the center, all shows us that it seems to be a more dense medium, a more local medium, a much younger and much more local lights based on all the observations. So if it's more dense and fluid-like, then yeah, technically, it could be a variance of things. It wouldn't necessarily be as big of a deal as the vacuum, but there would be something acting as physical containment regardless.
This one coming in from, do appreciate it, Tim Pryor says, better question, if you guys do not believe in space, then why do you believe there has to be a container?
Yeah, same answer. The necessary antecedent to gas pressure is physical containment. We would have to have something physically containing it relative to whatever it is that's up above us, which is a variance of things. Even Edwin Hubble himself said it could be a much more dense medium if there's a misinterpretation of redshift, but, Globers don't know these things. But yeah, so it could be a lot of things.
This one
Even though there's
from
no pressure pushing back at the top.
Sir Corduroy says, Whitsitt uses real citations but warps them fantastically to fit his narrative. I doubt he's even read these. Understanding atmospheric pressure isn't hard.
So yeah, I've literally read all the things that I talk about. It's not about understanding it. I understand the globe very, very, very well. Like typically better than most of the Globers. That's why I don't believe in it. And, so just like falsely attributing like incompetence to the other side and chanting doesn't actually mean anything. So the truth is I do understand it. And yeah, I just explained gas pressure 2 different comments in a row. I just explained how relativity is just a figment of your imagination attributing physical properties to conceptual abstractions, which is a reification fallacy and it doesn't work within your own paradigm. So whatever, man.
This one coming in from Crimson Air says, Globe side, can you explain the Selenian, aka impossible, eclipse, where the moon is enshadowed when the entire sun is still above the horizon?
I don't know what that kind of eclipse is. So
I got you. I'll explain it for the guy that sent it. It's called the Selenian eclipse. It's a lunar eclipse where the sun and the moon are both above the Earth during the eclipse. So he's asking, if the Earth is blocking the sun and casting a shadow onto the moon, then how could we have the lunar eclipse if it's the Earth's shadow, if the sun and the moon are both above the Earth during the eclipse?
Don't know. I never studied eclipses.
And I do have a paper from space.com that's explaining when we have a lunar eclipse, sun, earth, and moon are geometrically straight in line of space, so the earth in the middle. So if the sun's above horizon, must be below horizon, completely out of sight. It's going towards their favorite word, atmospheric retraction. Okay, so there is an actual explanation,
which is that the sun looks like it's in the sky, but it's actually not there, and the sun and the moon are not where they look like they are. They're both just looking like they're in the sky when we see them. Wow.
Yeah, you affirm refraction, so
affirming the consequence. Affirming the consequence.
This one coming in from Samir Farsain says, how come all people who toured the world on hot air balloons came back from the opposite side? How come none were gone forever if Earth isn't a globe? How?
Circumnavigation east to west is literally very easy to do on a flat Earth. You just go around relative to north. The idea you think that east to west circumnavigation is somehow impossible just shows you haven't actually even understood flat Earth yet, which is why you're probably not a flat Earth. Or north to south circumnavigation would be impossible on a flat Earth.
The same way you go around the block. Same way you go around the block, you can go around the Earth. That's not a
straight line.
Got it.
Neither is circumnavigation.
Yes, it is. That's the point of why it's round, is they went all the way around.
She doesn't
round. Yes.
Tim Pryor strikes again, says, but yet millions of people have jobs depending on gravity's existence. Again, this is why I'm so skeptical.
Again, so no, they don't have any jobs depending on gravity's existence other than downward acceleration being 9.8 meters per second squared, which is basically just the weight distribution or density and buoyancy relationship of something being more dense in the air and going down. It's called accelerometers. 9.8 meters per second squared is the effect. That does not in any way prove that gravity is real, which is what claims to be the cause. No one's denying people's profession using the fact that things go down at an agreed upon average. Once again, it's a drastic misunderstanding of the whole thing.
You got it.
Yeah, there's no science except all the technology that metaphorically makes the world go around.
He said it again, but it just uses accelerometers, which is the effect. So all you're doing is baselessly chanting. It's called sophistry.
This one coming in from Brandon Connell says, Flat Earthers, why does time dilation have to be taken into account for satellites if space-time isn't real? Snake may be able to elaborate more.
No, he can't.
Yeah, so that is a way to prove that the prediction that mass, affects space-time.
Okay.
So
you don't know.
That,
you don't know.
Yeah.
You can help you. I'm gonna help you since it was to me.
I would like you. Well, you said I could answer, but
yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Anyway, the
Don't
prediction
know.
is that space-time is affected by mass. So the
That's
more you
not what it
remove it from
is.
the mass, the more you have to correct for time dilation.
That's not what
Because
it is.
satellites are further from the mass.
That's not what it is, though.
Yes, it is.
No, actually, it's based on the convention of the speed of light. And so since the speed of light is actually just presupposed to be constant in the same one way as two way, because we don't have two way, a one-way speed has never been measured. So we just have a two-way using a mirror. So Einstein wrote in his paper, well, we're just going to assume that it's the same both ways. So they use this convention for the relaying of transmissions of different data from the satellites. And then assuming the speed of light, they actually account for the time differential of the clock, because you could never prove that the two-way speed is accurate, because you could never move one clock from one position to another without it not being synchronized. So that's what it actually is talking about. It's not just you vaguely saying the words mass and space-time.
Right, and
This
the
is all
light
just
moves
reification
differently based on what mass it's closer to.
No, it's about action. It's about
I think
motion.
you can just drop that from the equation,
It's about motion.
and it'll make sense.
It's about motion and speed of light, because when something's in motion, it supposedly time dilates and widens and therefore slows down based on motion. So I don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. We can move on.
That's also part of it.
This one
That's
coming
the whole
in
part of it.
from Javid Benscombe Ben Cosme. Says, question for James, is the beef with Professor Dave real, or is he making it up as an excuse to not debate Witsit without a biased moderator because he only wants to debate Witsit on a biased platform? I have no idea what's going on with Professor Dave. I haven't heard him saying anything about modern day debate or me. I don't remember us ever having a conflict. So I don't think I've even heard from him email wise for like a year as I've reached out to see if he wanted to come on. So I don't know what's going on there. This one from Samir says, Witsit said, quote, planets orbiting. Then says, does he believe they're also flat? Or is Earth the only oddball? Planets can't be flat. Even I can see them spin.
Oh my gosh. So when I was talking about planets orbiting, I was talking about the idea that the Earth is a ball, the model that is believed, so whenever they try to claim that Earth's a ball going around the sun along with other planets orbiting, they have to claim something stronger than electrostatics, because electrostatics wouldn't work. So that's where you have to get the need for coming up with gravity. Yeah, dude, I don't claim planets are flat. They're not terra firma. They're not solid. So luminescence would give you the literal optical illusion of an orb, like as a spherical orb of light. There's all kinds of things that it could be. I don't make claims that I don't know. I can only speculate. And the fluctuation and the non-static nature of them, the dynamic nature of them, seems to be consistent with sonoluminescence.
This one coming in from Kyle says, how was it possible for astronauts to go through the Van Allen radiation belt when they claim today they haven't discovered the technology to do so?
Is that for us?
I think so.
Because that sounds like a conspiracy, so I'm going to need some evidence.
Taylor, you know what it's talking about. Come on, man.
I'm not an
Orion program.
I'm not an astronomer.
So
You know
I
what
don't
it's
know
talking about.
why they could go to the moon.
Is this
come back now.
about? Oh yeah, that we don't currently have technology because we
they're
didn't
saying that
make it and any more of it, and the one that we did make is old.
And you can't replicate it. They said it's hard. It's a difficult process to
But-
recreate the technology.
Yeah, I'm sure it is, but they already did it. What's the point of spending money to do it again?
They said they've been trying to do it the whole time. They literally claim they're trying to go with the Artemis program right now. What are you even
What
talking
about Mars?
Notice the theme here.
Dude.
It's that they're lying to you. They're holding something back. They.
No,
they.
we're telling you what they said, Amy. You only have talking points of sophistry.
Just
This is
said
us
it.
quoting NASA.
This one
called
Or
Don
you're
Pettit.
misrepresenting it to make it sound as ridiculous as
We're
possible.
quoting it verbatim.
No,
I would love
they
to go
say
to
it-
the, I would, yeah, I
What
would go
they
to the
say
moon
is
in a second.
ridiculous enough. We don't actually have to change
And-
anything NASA says because it's
You guys don't know
ridiculous
any of it.
You've
as
also
they
used
say it.
the word
Sorry.
sophist a lot. I
'Cause
would
you're
like
a
to
sophist.
know, are you just a rhetoricist? Do you have any empirical evidence, or is it just your opinion that it's flat earth, which is what I've heard today?
This one coming in from
That you're a sophist? Wait, go ahead.
Joshua
I'm sorry.
Kelly says you have to literally lie to yourself to claim that all quote unquote impossible observations are the cause of refraction. The globe is dead.
I have to lie to myself because I know refraction exists and can explain it.
I'll read it again. You literally have to lie to yourself to claim that all quote impossible observations are the cause of refraction.
Well, if it's something that can be caused by refraction, why wouldn't I think it was refraction when it looks like it's refraction?
You got it. This one coming in from David Ben Cosme says, James, thanks regarding Professor Dave. Yeah, I have no idea what's going on. I've never heard from him, I haven't heard from him in a long time. I'm open. The door's open if he wanted to debate Whitsitt on Modern Day Debate. I know that was something that some people were talking about, but no, I hadn't even reached out to him. I don't know what's going on, if he said anything about Modern Day Debate. Has he? I'm curious if he did say anything about Modern Day Debate or me. Kango44 says, Whitsitt holding the most dishonest position ever. Take a weekend off and measure a shadow in 3 locations at the same time of day, just like was done 2,000 years ago.
Sticks
Done.
and shadows, Whitsitt. Don't you get it?
Yeah, we just explained. We explained you can literally show you can do it with all kinds of different locations on a flat surface, and I can map it out and show you how the flat table is a sphere. If you have a closer light source, it explains it. Not to mention taking azimuth distance measurements from the same longitude for an entire year show that the sun actually has a magnetic holography effect as if a toroid breathing in and out in a sort of way. It's an optical illusion in a way relative to your position. That's what the data shows. So there's tons of different ways to explain it, and it doesn't in any way work unless you assume a distant sun, an infinitely distant sun with parallel rays, and you assume the surface of a globe. And you should know this by now if you've been looking into it. That's really, really kind of sad.
Find that small local sun and I'll convert.
Good one.
This one from Kango44 says, Whitsitt holding... We got that one. Sir Corduroy says, ironically, Whitsitt just demonstrated that he doesn't understand refraction. I don't know. They don't say what they're referring to. Weird World says, been a flat earther for 3 years now, and I've never been more sure the earth is flat than after hearing these two cartoon-loving globers debate Austin and Karen. Stop worshiping these cartoons.
And can I just say, I like those words because once again, it's a form of projection. We only have video and photos, and they only have cartoons. There is no such thing as a photo.
Literally
Of
don't
the
have
flat
any
Earth.
photos.
They admit there's
That's
no
what I
real
just said.
photos.
You
Amy.
literally
There's
don't have
literally
any
no real
photos.
photos. No,
Amy,
you
they
said
say-
that you had photos. You don't.
Okay, but that's not true. You could say that.
No,
but
it
we
is
have
true.
That's what
Do you want me to
NASA
go
says.
get a
NASA tells
live
you that they don't
ISSB?
have photos.
Okay,
NASA
so there
says
you
it.
go. But see,
NASA
notice.
says so.
Okay, can I ask, is there a journal that you would accept? Like if I were to go to Nature, if I were to go to specific physics journals that said the Earth is round and I could show you different people, would you actually, is there any actual source you would accept?
I would
Verifiable
accept it
evidence.
if it was. Yeah, there you go. Verifiable, repeatable evidence. Yes.
Simple.
Okay, I mean, that is what all of the empirical evidence, that's why the physicists, this is why it's taught in, middle and high school. I don't know.
No.
Well, we can continue. Yes.
No, that's
You're
not
just
why
a
it's taught.
sophist.
Not? taught?
No.
Oh, why is it taught there in middle and high school? Is it they?
Because
again?
they want to blindly believe it. It was proposed about 500 years ago by Jesuits, who then proposed that there was a Big Bang theory and a
Gotcha.
pre-existing energy, which was Jesuits. And then they admittedly, Einstein, Edwin Hubble, and Stephen Hawking will all tell you that we choose to believe that the Earth is a ball that spins around the sun. Although it can never be proven according to relativity, the Cartesian coordinate systems are the same. We believe it because of the Copernican principle, which is the idea that the Earth cannot occupy a special or unique position in the universe. And so based on philosophical grounds of quote unquote modesty, we must ignore the intolerable position that the Earth is special at all costs and avoid that horrific location or idea. So it's philosophy, and that's your answer. It's not science. It's philosophy without actual empirical evidence, also known as a religion. So Amy, ironically, you are in one of the world's biggest religions.
Sure, that doesn't make sense, but I just want to point out that the round earth doesn't come from Jesuits priests. That's kind of cray-cray. It has been around for thousands of years. It survived for thousands of years. Some of the medieval Christian natural philosophers actually kept it while the peasants were thinking that it was a flat earth. Nonetheless, it is not a religion, but I want to keep on saying, the four debaters on here, we can all agree religion is bad, ladies and gentlemen. It's just great to...
You're in a religion, though.
I'm not.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you're using it negatively.
Religion.
Heliocentric.
You keep on using religion badly,
This one,
please.
Okay.
We're not. NASA just pays too much.
Wait, James trying to talk. James trying to talk.
King044 says, Witsit do T-jump radar experiment measuring the moon would take you a weekend. Done. If you were actually a truther, you would just do it.
That's hilarious, actually, because when you presuppose that you send the radio waves to the moon, how do you differentiate between the spectrum that you already receive when it comes to the background radiation from the sky? Oh, you don't know the answer. Secondly, NASA actually says that it takes like many chances and even 10 years to hit the one that supposedly goes around it. In addition, they claim they did it before they had the reflector. In addition, and actually by the time that the signal got back, the Earth would have moved so far away from it, you'd have to be significantly far away from where you originally sit it. And in addition, we've actually taken that same spectrum that allegedly goes through the ionosphere, then sent it over across the Earth, and it goes hundreds and hundreds of miles too far when it should be allegedly reflecting back down, also debunking it with horizontal propagation. So there's no way to actually distinguish that there's not just cosmic rays. It's just a baseless reification and begging the question fallacy per usual.
This one from Technics1 says, is this a debate about flat Earth or about distrust in the globe? Is there CGI of flat Earth too, or only of the globe? Thanks for the great show.
If the Earth isn't physically curving anywhere, then what is it?
David Ben Cosme says, James, I thought you guys got along too. That's why I don't know what's going on with Professor Dave. Seriously, this one. Flat Earth, Ebby Lara B says, modern day debate question for Taylor. Calling you out, Taylor. Can you name one experiment that replicates water sticking to the exterior of a shape?
I know it's not going to answer what you want, but you can just put water on shapes and it'll stick to the exterior. It's not because of gravity, but since you worded your question so poorly, that's what you get.
This one coming in from, do appreciate it. Him's sake says, thanks for hosting, James. Keep it up. All credit to the speakers. For real, folks. They're linked in the description. Appreciate your support, Him's sake. And our guests are linked even in the description box of the podcast, which is growing fast, you guys. It's ad-free. So if you don't like ads on YouTube, or maybe you're like, hey, I like listening to debates, but I don't want to have to rely on my data, because if I'm driving through a part of town that, doesn't have a connection, which I often experience, it's nice you have the podcast, and you can find our guests linked there in the description box too. Brandon Connell says, I've personally been on top of the Lake 3 building. Let me say that again. I've personally been on top of the Lakeway 3 building. You can physically see the North Shore, but you can't go on the ground, no matter what. Explain.
Who's that for?
I'm not sure. I'm glad it wasn't just me that wasn't sure. This one coming in from, if any of you know, let me know. I think it's the Antarctic they're referring to, if I had to guess. I don't know for sure. It said, I've personally been on top of the Lakeway 3 building. You can't physically see the North Shore, but you can't on the ground, no matter what.
The North Shore of what?
I'm not sure. I'll keep an eye on the chat in case they update me. Kang044 in the meantime says, question for the flat Earth people. So the sun does not change in angular size as it sets. I can watch the sun set twice from a higher vantage point. Please explain this on a flat Earth perspective, please. Please don't say perspective.
Angular resolution. If you go higher, then you're widening the angle of resolution. Sky's on a different plane. It's on a higher plane.
Yeah, they're asking that why we can see
Elevation
further
plane.
when we go up.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you go higher above a flat surface, you can also see further. And the angular size change of the sun, actually, you can look at stellarium, and it'll tell you that there's a time of the day where the sun changes angular size and actually gets smaller than bigger than smaller than bigger. So that's pretty interesting. But yeah, it seems to be similar to a focal point where it's in a certain part of the atmosphere that it doesn't change. And you go higher above a flat surface, you can see further as well. Just like Karen B said, it's like elementary.
This one.
Dear Watson.
Sorry. King
I was just saying, dear Watson. Sorry, guys.
Brennan, this one coming in from Sir Corduroy. King044 says, the fact we are real-time video streaming this debate is proof that Witsit is very, very wrong.
Wow, Earth must be a ball, bro. That was crazy good comment.
Astronaut66 says, Witsit, if the Earth were flat, there would be... We already got that one. Question the answer says, Amy and Taylor, your crusade against truth is fruitless, in all caps.
Funny enough, we are skeptics that we want to believe as many true things and as few false things as possible. And so we are always open-minded. I think there is a good Richard Dawkins quote that says, open-minded, just not so open-minded that your brains fall out. But Taylor?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's a simple thing. Just show me the small local sun, and I'll convert instantly. I think it'd be cool to have my mind changed. I do it all the time. Like my mistrust of the government, for example.
We see it every day, buddy. Show me the long distance ball of gas in a vacuum.
Like go above it. Or
you can't
throw
go above it. It's
into
too high up. You can't go that high up. What are you talking about? You're asking to go above the sun.
But it's in the atmosphere.
So we don't actually know where it's at. We don't know if it's in the container, outside the container.
You can see it.
We don't even assume that the sun is actually a physical object that you can go physically touch.
Exactly. Could be magnetic.
You can see it. Just look at it and go toward it.
We just told you that it could be
there
magnetic.
There are flying machines. Humans invented flying machines.
You'll get there one day.
Any jet pilot will tell you that you can't chase the sun though like that.
Do you mean like you can't touch the sun because you'll burn? Like, is that what you're telling us?
Or like you it's
always moving?
You guys have nothing but straw man fallacies, which means you're probably wrong if all you can ever do is to lie about the other side's position. It was a stupid question because it's a straw man.
Okay, well, that just sounds... Never mind. Continue. Love out there.
He's only got a couple responses.
Yeah.
So.
You just straw manned us and said we could go above the sun if the Earth was flat. You don't understand anything that's actually being stated. That's called a straw man.
If it was local.
You can't go high. If it's low, what if it's 30 miles? Is that still considered local? What if it's 100 miles up? Is that still considered local?
Why don't you go try and find it?
You can't go higher than that. You can't go that high. Thanks for playing.
Also, Taylor, there's a reason that they don't, because one of the recent flat earthers built a rocket and it exploded. So when they try,
that dude admittedly wasn't an actual flat earther.
Javid Ben Cosme says for Taylor, best flat proof. James put up this video which shows refraction, films feet to prove she's not elevated. I can't post the link in the super chat, but I'll post in the chat underneath this. I'm sorry, I don't think that there's links. I don't think YouTube allows you to post links in the chat unless you're like a moderator. So if you want to come on for a debate or something, that works. But it's hard for me to like put up a video that one of the speakers isn't asking to be pulled up. So Javid Ben Cosme, email me at moderndebate@gmail.com if you're interested, though. Samir, thanks for your question, says we should start a petition for Elon Musk to take the leader of flat earthers on the next space flight if he promises to tell his friends what he saw. Maybe. Javid Ben Cosme again says, Taylor and Amy, Google Earth turns into CGI once you zoom out past airplane altitude, proving no satellites in space.
When I started Googling some of the stuff that he was doing, it is all flat earth sources, which means this is their narrative shtick. If you feel that you have uncovered something, once again, publish a paper.
This one from King044 says, hang on, all the stars are less than 3 miles away then? because that's as far as I can see when looking over the ocean. And according to Witless, that's because light does not go forever.
Very ignorant. Yeah, it's called the attenuation of light, which is relative to the medium density. And over the water is a much more dense medium than directly above you. And we don't claim to know the medium differentiation or composition of what's above us. And we also don't know what's up there. Again, it could be sonoluminescence. So just an ignorant, basic misunderstanding of attenuation of light.
Also, light does not go on forever. Look up the inverse square law of light.
This one from The Wicker Man says, Amy and Taylor, drop the mic. Boom! You got fans out there as well. Tim Pryor says, you're lying again. In college, I went to Antarctica. I myself witnessed the 24-hour sun.
You did not see the actual sun in the sky for 24 straight hours. If you did prove it, you're the first one ever to have the actual evidence. Just because you're saying it on the internet, we're not going to blindly believe you because we happen to know that it's just 24-hour sunlight. It isn't actually 24-hour sun. And so that's just a cool story. By the way, when you went to Antarctica, you were on an approved guided tour, guaranteed. You can't go without getting approval.
This one coming in from, do appreciate your question as well. Brady D says, Taylor, is the moon in Earth's atmosphere?
Depends on where you cut it off. It's not really. There's some air. There's some air particles up there, but no, you could fit all the planets between the Earth and the moon.
Yeah, I would say it's the nitrogen, oxygen, and other gases that are on the planet. It's that the moon is just tidally locked with us. It is going around us as we go around the sun.
Since the atmosphere, you guys.
Since it's a gradient, there's no like hard cutoff point. So
the atmosphere actually goes all the way to infinity. Got it. Great story. We'll move on.
That's not really
straw man.
Yeah, that is what you just said. You said there's no cutoff. So if there's no cutoff, then where does it end?
It's not what I said.
Then where does it end?
Yes, you did.
In atmosphere,
I said it's a gradient. You can get to zero in a gradient, but there's no hard boundary anywhere in the gradient.
Where do you get to zero?
An atmosphere is just the gases surrounding a planet. Mars is half of our size, and thus it has a much smaller atmosphere because it has a smaller gravitational pull.
Oh,
the moon
really?
doesn't
Is it
have
half
an
the
atmosphere.
Yes,
atmosphere?
really. Yes, it does
half
have a little atmosphere.
No, it doesn't.
There you
even know
go.
what you're talking about.
The two PhD scientists, you have it.
This one from
You'll
Tim
get there.
Pryor says, your phone does Photoshop pictures. Why do you guys keep thinking Photoshop means fake?
You can Photoshop all kinds of stuff. Like Photoshop was first done in like the early 1800s. So Photoshop's been a thing for a long time.
But
You can take real pictures of something and Photoshop it. So no one's claiming that just because someone does a composite, that means it's fake. But the fact, like I can take a composite of my car down the road. But the point is that there's no actual real picture, and they take composite over cartography planes, right? Which just gets flat map projection, then wraps around a presupposed ball. And dude, it's pretty simple, man. Just like Karen B said, we would believe in the ball if it was legit. We don't have like some independent motivation to believe that there's this giant conspiracy that the earth is flat. There's no actual evidence for it. The government always lies. We've caught NASA lying tons. And just seeing cartoons, admitted CGI composites are not satisfactory to us. We need verifiable evidence. We can't trust the government, man.
This one.
It's almost like navigation only works when the composite is curved.
This one
Good
from,
one.
Huh?
He doesn't know what he's talking about. How's a great circle
Yeah.
work? How's a great
The
circle route work on a
MORI satellite
meridian?
is also used for navigation.
Which presupposes the
it's
Earth
curved.
being a ball. So that's
the
not,
more used for navigation.
dude, it's insane, dude. How do you explain the meridian great circle route on the Earth if there would be over 3,000 mile differentiation between your 5-hour trip down south with 500 kilometers an hour? How do you explain that there's 3,000 kilometers difference that you don't have to account for on the meridian longitudinal great circle route? Since you're talking about navigation.
There's no problem accounting for distances on any globe models. That problem occurs when you try and put the Earth onto flat maps.
Okay, you don't understand the question.
All
The Earth would
maps are
spin
flat.
underneath the plane 3,000 kilometers going north to south on the longitudinal meridian great circle route.
Well, I didn't hear because you kind of talked over each other for a second.
The great circle route on the globe Earth, on the longitudinal routes of the meridian, would have drastic differentiation because the Earth would spin underneath it So you'd have 3,000 kilometers in a 5-hour trip. Yeah, we don't see that, and there's no correction accounting for that. And flat Earth, globe earthers love to talk about the Great Circle route, east to west, as if it proves that the Earth's a ball when you can have circles on a plane. But no globe earther can ever give any adequate explanation for how you have a great circle on the meridian, on the longitudinal, without having to account for the spin of the Earth at all. They never have an answer.
This one
Almost like engineers account for that.
They don't.
This one from David Ben Cosme says, since Professor Dave doesn't want to debate Witzit on Modern Day Debate, fight the flat earth instead. Maybe. I mean, they've debated a lot, but let me see who else I can get. I think I can get some big timers for Witzit in addition, because just like I said, there's just been a lot of debates between Fight the Flat Earth and Witzit, I think. If I remember right, you guys have clashed
I'm not debating him out of principle ever.
Samir Farsain says, are 2 billion Chinese people lying when they say it's 12 a.m. there when it's noon here and vice versa? Otherwise, how would you explain it with flat Earth?
That would be explained with a small local sun, a small local light moving over a large plane of the Earth. That's how.
Wow.
Where the light stops short in one direction and goes much longer in the other.
No, I think we're going to stick with what Karen B said. Thanks, though.
This one from Dave Hinkle says, can Amy please invite her favorite scientist for the next debate?
I mean, sure. I invite my favorite scientist. I would prefer any. Well, first of all, I have loved my debate partner, Taylor. He's been amazing. But I will, any physicist, and with James' approval, I will do any debate, bring it on. But if Sean Carroll wants to join, if we're just going out there, it's me and Sean Carroll, baby. So we'll bring it on, I guess.
Juicy. And John Locke says, why do flat earthers go out and do all the research and globies just sit behind the computer spouting mainstream indoctrination? Is it impossible for globies to think logically for themselves and prove anything empirically for themselves?
Well, they won't go to the small local sun. They won't go to Antarctica, even though you can. you might have to fill out some paperwork, or spend some money, or become an explorer. Who can figure out how someone does that?
This one from Tim Pryor says, it takes Pixar 30 minutes to render one CGI frame. And do you actually believe Himawari could do it every 10 minutes, Austin?
Oh, well, I know that it just takes, there's a huge database of all the weather already. And yeah, you could easily just add it together in a composition, lay it over the blue marble that's already there. So yeah, you could absolutely do it with all the data already accessible. That's correct.
And you're also not comparing to the same quality image. They're not equal. When you're talking about a Pixar, you're talking about a much higher quality image than what they tell you the Himawari 8 is. So yes, you actually could render the quality of the Himawari quite quickly, much less than 10 minutes, as compared to rendering a full high resolution movie. Talking about a movie.
And I would like to see a flat earther actually do that and not just make that claim, because it takes a lot of time and energy to render things.
Not in that low of
Depends
quality.
What it is.
You not hear
it depends the quality.
Like I said, if you can replicate it as a flat Earth, try and actually do that. You're saying it's so easy. Oh, they can just do it. They just throw up an algorithm.
Let's just move on.
And if you stretched an image to fit a shape that it doesn't actually map onto, then you're going to have differences in image quality, and it's not going to fit, and it's not going to resemble reality, and you're not going to be able to navigate based on it.
Okay, you don't navigate based on Himawari pictures, buddy, so we can move on.
They do.
You don't know what you're talking about.
Literally,
no, they don't.
You don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, cite one person in the chat. I'll give you money.
We got to move forward. David Ben Cosme says, Amy and Taylor, there are treatments for cancer that perform better than chemo and radiation. These treatments are not peer-reviewed, though.
So
how am I supposed to know that?
There is a name for alternative medicine that works. It's called medicine. And so if they would like to get those type of cures, which may actually be out there. There are things that we don't know and are learning in medicine all the time. And I don't mean to be a broken record, but you need to peer review.
This one coming in from, you appreciate it. Simon the Science Guy says, are meteorites breaking through the glass dome, Austin?
No, that's a ridiculous question. But ironically, all meteors came from the same 6 radiant sources for all recorded history. And so that actually debunks the heliocentric model on its face because they would come from different parts of the sky, but they're predictable, reoccurring cycles. They're cyclical. And all meteor showers come from the same 6 radiant sources. So debunked in heliocentric. And it looks like they're actually just electrical discharges. So there's the answer.
This one from Josh says, Amy and Taylor are the essence of cognitive dissonance. Says Amy, if you actually want to become a comedian, you must watch Jim Brewer's Somebody Gotta Say It.
Sure. Well, first of all, Jim Brewer is a fantastic comedian. I love his stuff. But there's only one bar to being a comedian, and that is going up on stage. Because you could be a bad comedian, a good comedian. That's really up to the audience. But if you want to call yourself a comedian, all you need to go is go up on stage and put a microphone in front of your face.
Tim Pryor
High
says,
standard.
Bob did that experiment 3 times, even closed the gyro, still picked up a 15 degree per hour drift. Stop lying, Austin.
Okay, so watch. I'm going to say it again, but this is the problem, James, right? Like, they don't want to know the truth. They'll say the same thing tomorrow, like I didn't say all this, okay? But Einstein himself will tell you that if the Earth is stationary and the sky was moving around it, you would get a translation of motion to the interior of the system, and you would get centrifugal and Coriolis effects. The only difference is that it would actually be actual effects, and as opposed to fictitious with the Earth moving. In addition, we know it's from the Sagnac effect. That's how the ring laser gyro is calibrated, which he said it was the vortex in the ether. It's also proven with Michelson, Gale, Pearson. Combined with Michelson Morley debunks that the Earth is moving, and so we get the 15 degrees per hour, but it's not because the Earth is moving. And then Bob took it to a different altitude at the same latitude and got over a degree difference, which debunks that it's the axial rotation that has to stay the same when at the same latitude. Okay.
This one coming in from, do appreciate it, John Rapp says, how does one get gobbledygook out of a beard? My beard? Tim Pryor says, so basically, you agree with gravity, but just don't like the name and come up with a different word for it, Austin.
Gravity? Oh, it's not that I'm incognito. It's that all the empirical evidence ever literally shows that relativity is wrong. Even if I presuppose the Earth was a ball, all the evidence shows that it's wrong. Relativity says you can't prove that the Earth is moving, so I can give it that. At least it's honest in that sense, because it says all evidence shows the Earth's not moving. I don't have to give it a different name. I'm talking about what we can actually replicate and demonstrate to demonstrably be true, which is that everything that has matter is electrostatic, and that's an attractive force, and we have an electric gradient on the Earth. Everything else claimed about relativity is literally not proven, and quantum mechanics debunked all those claims.
This one from Tim Pryor says, but the ceiling's normally the exact same shape as room, which means the floor.
What?
If
I see a light bulb, I don't think it makes the ground a light bulb.
I think that's for us.
Maybe so, yeah.
If the ceiling was spinning around and we saw it spinning in one direction that way, one direction that way, but we look at the ceiling and no part of the ceiling is actually getting further away from each other, then we're the one moving and we're on anything but flat, basically. It could be a cube.
This one
can't be flat.
I've got to say, folks, just because we want to try it, we're going on, it's getting close to 3 hours. It's been like 2 hours and 55. So I do want to say, please, we probably can't take any more new questions at this point. Please, we want to get our speakers out by a decent time so they can get to sleep. So I want to say thanks for your questions, but we probably can't take any more as of this announcement. Technics1 says, so no container now, just electrostatic?
That's just another straw man fallacy. No one said that. There has to be physical containment. It's the necessary antecedent to gas pressure. We don't have to make claims as to exactly what it is. It could be all kinds of things. We don't make claims about the medium. I just said that it could be a fluid-like medium and some luminescence above it.
This one
But
from
you said all matter was affected.
Flat Earth Gemini says, Taylor first said all scientists are in agreement, then later stated scientists fight all the time.
Yeah, that's saying that you can bring up something that they disagree with and fight about it. They're all in agreement on this particular subject. you could bring it up. You could fight with them about it. There are subjects that they do fight about that they don't all agree with. This subject they do, but the point is that they're not against you disagreeing or breaking the paradigm on principle, which is the conspiracy theory that these guys have.
This one coming in from.
Can I just
Tim.
add on really quickly?
No, sophistry, Amy. You got to do better than that.
Well, no. When we come up with a new concept, scientists fight over it, and then eventually it's whittled down to there is a scientific consensus.
And that's not relativity.
Gotcha.
It
This
is
one coming in
relativity.
from.
No.
Do appreciate it. Tim Pryor says, instead of all the mind words, you could have just said, I don't know about the dome.
I already said I don't know exactly what it is that is containing it. I just know that it's there for like the 400th time. There just has to be something physically containing it.
Tim Pryor says, I like how it's all could be, maybe, possibly be, but no evidence. Not sure.
Literally, we have all the same evidence as you, which is naturally occurring observable phenomena and observations. You guys make up fairy tales that maybe Polaris could be 400 light years away. Then you guys just changed your mind, said never mind, it's 323 light years away just a few years ago. So your little model that you think is so perfect literally isn't perfect. They're guessing as well, ironically. The only difference is you're making claims that can be debunked within your own model, like dark matter and dark energy and the quantum scale. Someone's trying to say that doesn't matter. It does matter. There's still mass on the quantum scale, which means it has to bend in warp space-time. So ironically, when we speculate, that's what you're doing, only we're honest enough to know that we're speculating and we don't pretend it's scientifically proven. It just gets changed every day.
This one from Tim Pryor says, Virgin Galactic is now selling tickets to go to space. Are you going to say everybody that has money to go there is also going to be in on the conspiracy?
Going a few miles up in the air doesn't prove that the Earth is a ball. They don't even claim to go up above or outside of the low Earth orbit. They literally don't even claim to go to space. So
It's a parabolic flight. You're
Yikes.
going on a big parabolic flight.
admittedly,
Go ahead.
I was saying admittedly, you only float for a few minutes, just like a parabolic flight. You go up and you come back down. And then people just say stuff like that. It's just kind of sad, honestly.
Frequency says, Project Paperclip, anyone? I don't know what that means.
1945, the
Project
U.S.
Paperclip.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, which is like an encyclopedia over here. He's got all the answers. But Project Paperclip is when basically at the end of the World War II, all the Nazi scientists were exported out of Germany and over here to America, and they started NASA.
Boom.
You got it. This one coming in from, do appreciate it. Tim Pryor says, find me a part for a 1939 Model T. Since nobody makes those parts anymore, does that mean that car did not exist? Same way with the technology back then with NASA. I think they're saying with regards to NASA not being able to do things that they were able to do.
Not doing CGI.
It's really not the same thing because we've got bigger and better cars that go faster and travel more efficiently than the old cars. So we made improvements in that technology. It didn't just disappear. So not the same.
This one coming in from Tim Pryor again says, I'm assuming when you say Globers, you mean everybody that has not watched YouTube videos and believes it. Am I right? And then says, same way around the block. So I'll do the same argument. Why aren't planes constantly going left or right if they're just going in a circle?
They use a compass. You're a clown. They use a compass
They
update
just
relative to normal.
go from point A to point B. They don't have to go left or right.
It's ridiculous.
This
You
one
do
coming in
on a
from
flat Earth.
Tim Pryor says, the formula of buoyancy literally relies on gravity. Everything you're saying agrees with gravity. You just don't want to say the word.
Actually, the principle predates the formula that put the little g in there, and it hijacked Coulomb's law effectively, meaning that there's an electrostatic attraction. If you look at it, they're very similar. Then people say, oh, it came after, didn't hijack it, meaning it hijacked the phenomena, which is electrostatic. I don't care to say the word. Gravity is actually nothing more than incoherent dielectric acceleration or incoherent magnetism, and that's all that it is. That's all that is provable. The problem is that there isn't something called the theory of relativity, making gigantic balls and vacuums fly around each other. That's all made up nonsense, and it's not even logically viable on its face.
This one coming in from Tim Pryor says, in my spare time, I'm an amateur astronomer. I've seen Jupiter's moons catching shadows on it and have calculated Jupiter's rotation. Please explain. Never mind, you guys like using cameras to look at planets. then continues, like an EMP pulse can fry computers, which means newer cars would be inoperable, but older cars were not. I think that maybe they meant for that to be two separate super chats. This is tough. I can't tell where one starts and the other ends. They said, we'll give you the first one. They said, in my spare time, I'm an amateur astronomer. I've seen Jupiter's moons catching shadows on it and have calculated Jupiter's rotation. Please explain.
Yeah, so it's long time been known that they try to claim that prove that the Earth is heliocentric, but actually no, it works in a neo-tychonic system. So that doesn't mean anything. The fact that there seemingly is something relatively moving in the sky to one another and then moving around the Earth, I don't really see how that somehow proves that the Earth is a ball that spins in a vacuum. It's very ignorant.
With regards to the idea of whether or not NASA had technology that they cannot replicate today and that they could not move beyond or improve on, they say, Tim Pryor says, like an EMP pulse can fry computers, which means newer cars would be inoperable, but older cars were not. We have new technology. The radiation belt will mess up that technology the same way. I thought you guys did research.
We understand the story. We understand what you're saying. It's just a very convenient story that you can't actually recreate the technology to go back to the moon. Now they're claiming that they're going to. They seemingly can't get off the freaking ground. I don't care if you want to believe their fairy tales. We're pointing out that it's stupid.
Brandon Connell says Lakeway 3 is the big building next to the Causeway in New Orleans. Let me go back to their original question.
Oh, okay.
So their original question was, I've personally been on top of Lakeway 3 building in New Orleans. You can physically see the North Shore, but you can't on the ground, no matter what. Please explain.
Sorry, I was totally zoned out. What?
I mean, I would have to see a picture to know exactly what he's talking about. He's saying that you stand on a building, you can see the North Shore, but you can't see the ground. So what is he saying? You can't see the ground because of curvature?
That would mean that there's no
you
curvature.
can physically see the North Shore, which I
don't understand. I still don't understand.
like Brandon, is the Lake 3 building, is that like out just a bit offshore when you say you can see the physical shore or the North Shore? They said you can physically see the North Shore, but you can't while you're on the ground, no matter what.
Oh, okay. So, yeah. But again, so you can see further when you lift up, when you go higher. But hey, ask him if you sit there on the ground and you tape a time lapse all day, every day, will it change? The answer is yes. There will be certain days that you can see further, and the alleged obstruction constantly moves up and down because it's not physical. It's pretty simple.
Tim Pryor says, I want to set up a debate with Witsit. Give me the details of how and when. That sounds like a good alternative. Like I said, Fight the Flat Earth has debated. Austin and Fight the Flat Earth have clashed a lot. This may be a good one. Tim Pryor seems like he's very well read and experienced. So, Tim Pryor, if you email me at moderndaydebate@gmail.com, we'll see if we can make that work. And that's moderndaydebate, no spaces, no hyphens, @gmail.com, and let me know and we'll see what we can make happen. Triumph the Insult Dog says, went on international flight weeks ago, saw a curve.
Oh, well, you disagree with the world's most famous physicist. The geometry says that you actually can't see the curvature from a flight. So you can't even see it from 60 miles up. So this is awkward. Your model says that you wouldn't see it. So something's going on. Also, actually, over a flat surface.
Flying 80,000 feet up in the air say they don't see curvature. So I don't know.
But this guy on YouTube said so in a super chat because he's triggered that we're dominating the globers. But the truth is that if you were over a flat surface and then there was a local light source, you'd have something called a circumference of light. And that would actually give you the illusion of some type of convexity, which is pretty ironic. And of course, your eyes see in a circle, but obviously the Earth is not flat. And like she said, you can talk to pilots all day. They'll tell you that they don't see a curvature. You guys just say it. And if you say it boldly enough with an ad hom about how we're stupid, the Earth becomes a ball magically.
This one coming in from, do appreciate your question. Semir Farsain says, what's at the edges of the flat Earth? Or gradient 2?
Well, nobody said there was an edge. All we can go to is, furthest we can get to is Antarctica. And we don't even know that Antarctica goes all the way around the Earth. So there is no edge. It's just a shoreline, like a lake. What's beyond the shoreline? I don't know.
Tim Pryor says, Austin really needs to learn the definition of religion. Flat Earth is the epitome of the definition of religion. Well,
No,
maybe
actually, it's not.
Not
if we set
really,
it
no.
like that could be a juicy debate, in particular flat versus globe. Chris G says, as you approach a mountain while at sea level, would you see the top of the mountain first or not, and why? Hi, James. Hi, Chris. Good to see you.
What was it? The question was for us. What was the question?
Yep, they said as
If-
you approach a
if you-
mountain while at sea level, would you see the top of the mountain first or not?
Most likely, probably, yes, you would see the top of the mountain first.
What
That
is the
doesn't mean that the
relevance?
Earth is a ball.
Oh my gosh.
Instead of the entire thing growing large at the same time, which is what you'd
Well,
expect.
because
on a
that's not
flat
how it works. That's not how horizontal planes and angular resolution work.
Yeah, an angle of view.
Earth. That is how it works.
No.
Oh, okay. So what you're saying is then we are seeing the literal physical curvature blocking it at its actual location then. When you say that we never do, and your model says that we never do. You see how what they get to do is just make all kinds of contradictory claims simultaneously. It's insane. It's so funny. It just doesn't matter. If you want to be honest, listen to what we actually said. Research the subject honestly. You don't have to fit in with everyone else. That's the truth. You know, some people are just afraid.
This one coming in from, or near the end, Chris G says, at what point after joining, quote, the government, are you briefed on the flatness of the earth and begin your lifelong journey to lie to everyone forever?
You get access to space lasers right afterwards. It's great.
They give you free shirts.
I think they're, for Austin and Karen B, I think they're kind of trying to raise a, you might say, a sociological argument saying,
Yeah.
why is it, I mean, maybe I'm reading too much into this. I think they're saying, like, why is it that, like, is it really the case that everybody in the government, like, there's been no whistleblowers out of all the
Right.
people that have been told by NASA or the government that the Earth is actually flat?
Yeah, there's whistleblowers. There's tons of subject matter experts. If you go to Mark Sargent's channel, there's people from the military, all kinds of people that come forward and say that the Earth is flat. They just don't get any public recognition or time on mainstream media.
There's actually two alleged astronauts, a Soviet Union and a Polish astronaut, who literally came out and said that the Earth is flat. You guys say there's no whistleblowers, but in addition, we don't think that everyone's in on some major lie with millions of people. It's a straw man that you use to try to make it look improbable, but we know it's just compartmentalization. Most people believe the lie. So again, it's the same thing. It's just sophistry where you got to lie about what we actually think, which is pretty interesting, huh?
This one from Tim Pryor says, no, it doesn't. Stop deceiving. The glare makes it appear to change size. Use a solar filter. This has been shown to you guys a billion times.
Using the solar filter doesn't prove that the Earth is a ball. Even your stellarium says that it changes angular size, and your model says it changes angular size throughout the year. And you say, no, just because of whatever, it changes angular size. It wouldn't change angular size during the day. You just strawman that onto us because you have to make up stuff.
This one coming in from Tim Pryor says, Flat Earth has no model, so there's no straw manning it. Then says, so now I'm also lying like millions? Is that all you have?
Well, whenever you tell lies, then you're lying. And it's a straw man if you make up what you don't understand. Like straw man examples of flat Earth. We don't have to have an entire model to know that it's a straw man when you say, if the Earth was flat, there wouldn't be a horizon. If the Earth is flat, we know for a fact that the sun would change size. If the Earth was flat, we'd see across the entire world. These are straw man fallacies due to your lack of understanding and basic incompetence. That's what it's called, a straw man fallacy.
You got it. And this one coming in from, do appreciate your question. Rumply Depew says, Witsit, when does the sun or the sum of angles in a triangle equate to more than 180 degrees? When dealing with spherical geometry, helpful when navigating the Earth.
That isn't true. Geodetic surveying in the modern time never does anything over 180 degrees. The globe Earth just claims that as a talking point, and then they bring up some paper from 1850 or 1796, but no one ever does that. They also don't even understand the actual data of that. And in addition, if you just presuppose spherical geometry, I don't think you're actually proving that the Earth is a sphere.
This one from Tim Pryor says, stop Lying, you do not have to get approved to travel there. You can take a cruise there anytime. You can get jobs there anytime. Love how everybody has to be lying if they disagree with you.
Just again, you
Okay.
double down. Karen B, you got it. They just doubling down the lie.
They're just doubling down and making lies. I mean, go look it up for yourself. It's you can go look into it on your own. You don't have to believe what we say or what that guy says. You can just go try to do it yourself. Go look it up. Have fun.
Yep.
This one coming in from only like folks for real. No more questions. This one coming in from do appreciate it. Wokenstein says, "Hey James, hey Modern Day Debate. Flat Earthers, why do hurricanes rotate in opposite directions on the northern half of Earth than they do on the southern half?"
They actually don't always do that, but you can look up
Yeah.
something called a solenoid or a bar magnet, and you would get a similar type of effect with the magnetic flux readings that we have and with the solenoid bar magnet type of effect over the Earth electromagnetic field or a magnetic field. They actually don't always go the exact opposite directions, though that's been debunked. And I'll also just now explain to everyone that even Einstein will tell you that if the sky is moving around the Earth, it would be a translation of centrifugal force onto the Earth. So, I mean, it just, you guys don't even know what relativity says. And that's why you guys ask this type of question, because
Tim-
you just read Google articles.
Tim Pryor says, "I would love to see flat earthers start using flat earth technology since we globers are so dumb. And it's funny that flat earthers claim the moon is local, but then claim we've never been there. Think about it. I shouldn't have to explain."
You should, because that's ridiculous. No one thinks you can land on it. We don't claim it's solid. Sorry, I'm not trying to take all the questions. I'm just kind of over it. Like, we don't claim that it's solid. We don't claim it's something you can walk on. So yeah, that's right. You can't go land on the moon or go to the moon because it's not something that you can even go to. And yeah, it's much more local than what they say that it is. And you said, where's the flat earth technology? Well, why don't you go talk to the Nazis, because they actually had electrogravitic propulsion devices using ether physics and throwing out the relativistic physics. So interesting.
Tim Pryor says, "Loved how Whitsitt thought he debunked meteorites with a bunch of words salad. Yep, that's why museums will pay thousands or millions of dollars for a piece of rock."
It's money laundering, bro.
Yeah, maybe so, like their pictures. But what's so funny
Could
is
be.
it's not word salad when I say all meteors come from the same 6 radiant sources in the sky.
Tim
You just
Pryor-
don't know what that is or how to respond, so you just try to dismiss it with your little 2-word phrase, which is
Nobody
stupid.
has ever observed a rock falling out of the sky and hitting the surface of the Earth.
Of course
The only
not.
reason they call them meteorites is because they have high iron content, which is
Stupid.
not a foreign material. That is all material found here on the surface of Earth. It's funny
And
how
they
they
claim-
find space rocks, but they find them on Earth.
Exactly.
Not
They
a
claim
form
that
of electricity.
70%. They claim 70% of the moon rocks we have were found on the Earth. It's hilarious.
Stupid Beta Energy says, "It's very simple, Whitsitt. The sun doesn't change angular size because it's big and far away, not small and within the sky over a pizza Earth."
Well, we get your claim and your straw man of a pizza Earth. We showed you that magnetic holography seems to be a viable option based on the longitudinal azimuth and declination readings over the course of a year. And that stellarium, which uses your model itself, says that it does change angular size throughout the day. Then you guys say, oh, well, it's just not enough to matter. So your entire claim went out the window. You begging the question or presupposing something means nothing. We don't claim the size, the shape, or the distance. We see a circle that looks like a light, and then we don't know where exactly it is or what it's encompassed in. So you can desperately try to straw man all you want. But anyone that wants to know the truth of this conversation is going to do one thing. They're going to go research the veracity of the claims from the globe Earth and see if that's actually true. And anyone that doesn't want to know the truth will frantically try to chant ridiculous comments like that and never go look into what the actual evidence says.
Tim Pryor says, "First, stop quoting Einstein because Einstein never thought the Earth was flat, and no, Michelson morally did prove the Earth was not moving. Stop repeating what people say and read the paper from them themselves."
I literally have read the paper. I'm sure you haven't. I understand all about it. It's called Detecting Earth's Motion Through the Ether. It didn't show a fringe shift. It showed 1/6 of what was predicted. It's even less than that now. It was supposed to show 30 kilometers per second revolution or orbit around the sun. It didn't show that. So what it showed is that the Earth wasn't moving, combined with Michelson-Gale-Pearson, which matched the sidereal rotation prediction within 98%, which is literally how we have gyroscopes with the static effect to this day, which shows that it's the sky moving around the Earth. It's not actually it's not actually the Earth moving, and this is just objective. And so they threw the ether out because if there was an ether, then that would mean that the Earth was not moving. And now quantum mechanics, popular physicists are now coming out and saying it looks like we're going to have to reintroduce the ether, but they can't figure out how to make it work with Michelson-Morley because it would mean that the Earth is not moving. This is what it actually happens in reality, not your stories.
This one coming in from, and the last one, Tim Pryor says, no, what I'm saying is the ceiling is normally the exact same shape as the room. So yes, looking at the ceiling will tell you the shape of the room.
We're not looking at the ceiling. We're looking at lights in the sky. We can't literally see a ceiling. We don't go touch a ceiling. So that's just a ridiculous question. I could tell that it was actually someone being serious. I thought earlier, it's just a ridiculous question. Nothing that's on the ceiling in the ceiling can ever tell you what the floor is. It's literally very remedial.
You got it. And with that, folks, want to say, hey, a couple of things. First, and most importantly, we appreciate our guests. You can click on their links right now to check out their website, their YouTube channel, their Twitter. Go ahead right now, click on their links because we're going to have the post-credit scene in just a second. But hey, I got to tell you, we appreciate our guests. They're the lifeblood of the channel. You had some exposure to them right now. So whether you're listening via YouTube or podcast, you can click on their links as we put their links in the description box for both the YouTube channel and podcast. I want to say thank you, Witsit, Karen B, Amy, and Taylor. It's been a true pleasure to have you tonight.
Woo-hoo.
Thank you.
Right on.
Just research it
us.
for yourself and stay open-minded. Don't worry about what other people try to tell you about it. Just be honest. Look into the globe.
Keep asking questions.
Thanks so much for being with us. And folks, hope you felt like your side was treated fairly. We really do want to welcome you, whether you be flat earth, globe earth, Christian, atheist, politically left, politically right, you name it. All of the strange creatures in between those, you could say, differences as well. We hope you feel welcome. We do appreciate you. We hope you are having a great night. I'll be back in just a moment with the post-credit scene, letting you know about upcoming debates. You don't want to miss them. Hit that subscribe button as we have many more juicy debates coming up. And with that, I'll be back in just a moment. One last thanks to our guests.
God bless.